in the beginning when I got to know about the benching, of course it was tough, and I'm not gonna lie, it still can be tough. Some days it can be more tough than others. Especially when the tournaments are going. I think when tournaments are running, I think it's more difficult because now I know how everything is rolling. You know, I know how it is to be at tournaments, and I want to be there. You know, but unluckily I'm not. So of course that is more tough. But now that we have a little bit of breaks in between, we also have Pro League coming up. I think it's gonna be some time for me to figure out even more like what I want to do. But for sure, it could be a blessing.
Best esports odds, VIP program and a variety of bonuses, fast and easy withdrawals, bet on every possible CSGO match and tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
Are you tired of your boring old skins and looking for beautiful new ones? Tradeit.gg is your place to go for easy and secure trades within seconds. Simply pick and choose whatever item you want to trade from Tradeit's huge inventory. Verify the trade on Steam and you're ready. With the lowest fees in the market and a beautiful, easy-to-use UI, Tradeit also offers you the option to instantly sell your items for cash. We accept a wide variety of payment methods. Tradeit.gg is the go-to place whenever you want to try out fancy new skins. Start trading today at Tradeit.gg.
It's a good vibe, train. It's a good vibe, train. It's a good vibe, train. Good vibe, train.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed, proudly brought to you by 22Bet. Gamble responsibly. SteelSeries, they got some good peripherals in you if you're in the marketplace, and Tradeit.gg. You want some skins? You know where to head. We're going to get straight into this one here this evening. I'm not even going to worry about introducing Lucas, producing, Prof, and Striker joining me as well. We have to really make sure we are honoring the greatness that we're in the presence of here this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody watching this tonight, you know, we've had dupreeh on before, only 10 months ago, but since then, something major, quite literally, has happened. 19 from 19, the only player to have attended them all, the only player with 5 majors in CSGO. That can't be changed, that can't be touched. And well, we've got dupreeh joining us this evening to talk through all of the recent happenings. Do we bow? Do we need to, like, you know, what do we do?
You don't have to.
Oh, but we should,
no,
right? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should have. But I surely give a lot of love in the chat right now for dupreeh. It's fantastic to have you joining you this evening. It's fantastic to have you joining us this evening.
Yes,
I was talking quite quickly there. We might need to slow it down, right? But thank you for joining us, and we've got a lot to dig into here tonight. Yep. I really want to start there, boys. Should we just get into it? Because what are you thinking, Prof?
Let's just do it. Let's just roll the bumper, and we get into the questions and into this fabulous gentleman here.
All right, let's get hot with it. Roll the bumper, Lucas. Let's go. All right. Well, we've just discovered that Prof is in fact a vampire. Bit of overexposure here today. But no,
I like the sun. How does that work?
Well, yeah, you were pretty brown last time I saw you. So look, that may have dropped off. Peter, let's start with this, mate. We can talk about the major, sure, but maybe we talk about some of the happenings in recent times. Obviously, you've had some time to yourself.
Yes.
What's the most recent? What's the most recent big thing in your life, other than the kid, or mainly it is the kid? I imagine it's all about the kid.
I think there's a lot of big things that has happened the last half a year in my life. Obviously, I've become a dad, which has obviously changed my life quite drastically. Luckily, in the really good way.
How's the sleep?
It's I mean, he just turned 6 months a couple of days ago. So in the first period of time, he just keeps waking up. And then he started sleeping a little bit better and started feeling more comfortable. And now he's at that stage where he's actually waking up at 3 in the night again. And all of a sudden you find yourself like totally grogged out, and you just wake up and you're like, oh, you have to give him the pacifier and like, shh, be calm. And he's like, it's night, you need to sleep. And he doesn't understand that. So I have a lot of nights together with my girlfriend that we're just spending on trying to get him to sleep. But overall, I think it's fine. I think it's part of being a parent. So I'm really not complaining. I'm just enjoying the time I have.
I've had the pleasure of getting to hear about this type of stuff from like Jason, right? Moses, who's had a kid recently as well, and you're hearing about like all these new technological devices. There's like a bracelet that you put on their leg that detects like when they're sleeping, and it notifies the phone and everything like that. And then the type of ways, like my sister just had a kid, the type of ways that they get to like play with food and learn. Are you into looking into all that stuff, like working out? Hey, I imagine you are. What's the most recent thing on the agenda?
Actually, I don't think we have that many advanced things as you just mentioned. I mean, it sounds pretty cool with the bracelet like that actually acknowledges whether they're sleeping or not. I think that's pretty cool, but also sounds very American. So I guess that's why Jason has it. I mean, I think we're using whatever is used in Denmark, and I don't think it gets like too advanced.
Okay.
Actually, I think we're just trying to take everything pretty old school. I think the way that we've been raised and the way that we remember getting told that we've been raised. So not trying to do anything fancy, trying to keep him away from all the monitors, like the computer and the TV and everything. But obviously sometimes it's hard whenever you want to watch something. But we're trying to read a book with him and look at animals and all that kind of stuff, so he gets the right pace.
They said like raising it the classic way. So you're waiting for the
exactly.
winter to put him out to sleep in the -10, the classic Danish Swedish style.
Something like that. All the things are taken into consideration.
All right, let's jump forward here. Let's talk about this major victory, mate. As we mentioned, we prefaced 19 from 19, the only player to do that. That in itself is an achievement. And then you go on to win the goddamn thing, get yourself up to 5, completely untouchable in that regard. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to talk to dupreeh tonight. I don't even know what it feels like to, win anything in Counter-Strike, let alone 5 majors. But I'm going, okay, so let's pretend like this must be, he's already won 4. He's won everything under the sun. He's accomplished. He's part of the greatest Counter-Strike roster of all time, literally meta-defining, one of the biggest era that we've seen in CS. And then you are in this Vitality roster. Was that the whole goal? Win and get the major, get the 5th?
I think it was my personal goal. I've always tried to put up personal goals for myself in my career because I want to chase something, and I think it's important for me to have something to chase, to keep up the motivation, and to remember myself, like, why am I putting so many hours into this game, and why am I traveling so much and spending time away from my loved ones? So I think it was important for me to try and find something that really kept my motivation going. And in the beginning, of course, it was becoming a professional player. I achieved that, and it was about winning. Just I dreamed of winning a major. And when that one came true, it was all about, then you want to become the best team in the world. You want to have an era and everything. And obviously some of the goals were also team related. But in some sense, when I joined Vitality, knowing that if I would win one more major because I only had Magisk on my team, who had only achieved 3 because he was a little bit later to the fun in Astralis, then I knew I had something that very specific for myself. And on top of that, I had the chance of making being attended at all 19 majors, which was also obviously very nice to have. But sure, getting the 5th major and also winning the last major, I think there was a lot of things on the stake for me, and I just decided that when I joined Vitality, that was the goal I was gonna chase.
Well, you're pretty fortunate in me being even able to ask this question, but where does Rio rank among the 5 major wins that you have under your belt?
Like
Paris, you mean?
Paris?
Paris?
Oh yeah,
I did not win
Paris,
Rio,
yeah.
unfortunately, but thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely up there. I mean, I think it's probably top 3. I think it's the 3rd best one, probably.
Okay. That's middle of the way.
You got a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to know number 1 and number 2 then. What's the number 1 and number 2?
I feel like I've said this one like a million times, but the most important one was in Katowice when I had just lost my father. So that was like a very important one for me to just leave it all behind and proving everyone that I could still do it. And I think that was also very emotional for me. So obviously I will always pick that as the best one. And then I mean I cannot deny the first one is always very special because at that time I would just I was just satisfied and happy with having that one. I didn't expect myself to go out and win 5. So that's definitely second place. So the reason why this one is, well, Paris is number 3 is that was the 5th one. I managed to win 5, the most of everyone. I attended all the majors. The last one in CSGO, it was a nice ending to the chapter in some sense. So that is probably my ranking, and just for the fun of it, which one is the worst out of the 5 ones? I don't think there's like a one that's like worse, or what you could say. I think
You can just say the 4th one. We will. That will just tell you everything.
But I don't even know what the which one I should put
Solid,
at 4th,
right?
because everyone like all the majors have like a special story to it. Because in London
True.
the London one was we'd had a little bit of a struggle, and we were not really sure if we were gonna win it, and then we won the second one, and and the one in Berlin was I think that was the one where we made back to back or something like that. I'm not
3
even
in a
sure.
row, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
actually
that
not
would
even,
have been-
I'm
that
actually
would have
not
been
even
3 in a row.
sure. So I think they all have their own special and very unique story. So for that sense, it's kind of hard to rank the last 2 ones, because all of them has a special story to it.
I think when you guys, because we heard very early from the Vitality camp that the plan was to win like the Paris Major, right? Like that we heard that on ramp for that very, very early. But when you had decided that as a team, I don't think the CS2 wasn't like a glimmer in our eye, right? It was just a rumor on the back streets. It wasn't something that had been confirmed by, all the news that had come out post, right? So once the news had come out, is that right? Like I'm trying to play this timeline in my head. That does make sense, right? Because it was the previous year that you guys were already starting to focus on that major.
Yeah.
So when you heard that the game was going to change, did that be like, oh, okay, it's because you've been through this before. So did that add to it, or was it not really that much of a consideration that we're moving on to a new game?
I think when we got to learn that the major was going to be in Paris, first of all, it meant a lot to the team, because we had French players in the team, and also for the organization, and everything just kind of came together for Vitality, because they had their 10th year anniversary at the same time. And I don't think it's a secret, but the reason why Magisk, me, and Zonic were brought into the team was to achieve winning majors and winning like big titles. So that was like the whole reason to why we were brought to the team, and also because Vitality has like a strong belief in that they want to make ZywOo the superstar, like even more superstar than he already is. They want to make sure that he's always up there, and they wanted to win a major for ZywOo in some sense, because he also deserves that. And doing that on home soil and in Paris and everything, and it was just like just like the fairy tale with icing on top. Everything just came together for them. So for them, it was just extremely important, and of course, it was important for all of us. But I think the Danes, we came in with another goal in some sense. Sure, we wanted to win another major, but we also wanted to prove to ourselves, but also to everyone else, that we could achieve winning majors outside of the Astralis camp. That the move that we made, because it was at that time, it was why do you have so many cats though?
I have to.
They're multiplying.
They are about
I love
3 months old, so they're active.
Okay, but she's like, I just kept watching, and then there was just like cats everywhere, and they were like standing.
It's just, man, I'm not like a crazy cat person. I have to.
Well,
It's fine.
yeah,
I lost
maybe a
focus
little
for a brief moment.
That's all right. Man. Trust me. Like, welcome to my life. Like, they're constantly like on my mouse pad, and just like I can't work, I can't do anything.
Yeah, but just to wrap it up, I think it was as I mentioned, it was important for us to win, and to prove to everyone that that moving out of Astralis was the right choice for us at that moment. So I think that was also another storyline that I think I'm not sure that everyone knows, but now they do at least.
There are kind of a lot of stakes on that one, right? From all angles, like personal,
there
team.
Is. Yep.
So a lot of motivation for the team going into that. What do you make of the event as the player in the winning team post-mortem? Because obviously there's a lot of conversation about, we had the Apex, Game Elite, like you play Game Elite in the final, into the breach. What do you make of that major with all of those upset type results as someone who was involved in lifting the trophy?
I think it was, I think the entire team expected us to play Heroic. I think that's what we expected, because Heroic had been looking pretty solid throughout the tournament, and knowing that they were in the other semifinal and you had 2 underdogs playing both semifinals, it was kind of aligned that we were going to face them in the grand final. So, and I wouldn't say that we feared Heroic in that sense at that time, but we knew that Heroic was a really strong team, and they would be also a contender for the title. So we knew that when they got knocked out, we had a really strong shot at winning it. Not to downplay Gamer Legion or anything, but I think we just felt so comfortable when Heroic lost their semifinal that if we could make it to the grand final, we had a really, really, really strong shot at making it.
What was
And
there? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and of course, the whole bracket run was just crazy. I mean, like in some sense, it's crazy. At the same time, it's not, because I still think I think this player break just proved it, that we are in this major shift of, putting the veterans a little bit out of the picture and bringing in the new boys and the new talents and all the people that have not achieved anything yet, that just want, play Counter-Strike day in, day out. And also for the matter that all these new guys coming into to the game are probably not as expensive as the old guys. Like we probably demand a lot more. And if you could just get a young guy for like a fraction of what an older guy gets paid, then I also believe that is a thing that the organizations are looking at, because with the whole CS2 coming into the equation, and there's a new game and everything, I think there's a lot of things on the line. So I think it was also just a matter of new players stepping up and the old players crumbling in some sense. I think there was a lot of things happening in that major that made it look like it did.
Was there never a sense of like when you were going into that final, especially, was there never a sense of like that almost game religion as the scarier opponent in that sense, like, because that just puts a lot more pressure on you. You're just like, you have to win that final, in that moment.
Actually not, because I think we had already tried it in the quarterfinal and the semifinal in some sense. Like we had already tried the whole thing about being the team that is supposed to win. So it was not new for us. And we've tried that a lot of times. That we've tried a lot of times, not only as a team but also as individuals, playing teams that you should beat. So I mean, at least for myself, I know how to approach it. Like I know how to approach it as on the mental game. So I think it was more about we gained more confidence that we lost. And whenever we started the game, we played against I remember that I think they started out somewhat strong, but I think we figured them out pretty fast, and we could definitely I could at least feel that their experience on stage and playing like really probably the most like, how do you say, the most the game with the most pressure that they have ever played. I think you could definitely feel that, the way that you could approach them, the way you could flank them, the way you could just save your utility and just predict everything. It made it a lot easier for us. And I think that is the one of the things that I remember the most from the grand final, that I actually felt that we were in control all the time.
I remember this line from Apex, who said something like that, like he felt like no matter who you guys would have faced, like you would have won. He just felt like you guys were ready for everything. Was that the same sense for you too?
I strongly believe so as well, because it was just in some sense it was just meant to be. There were so many storylines on the line, and so many things that there was. We have been just living in that pressure for 4 months. Ever since December, we've just been living in that pressurized environment where we needed to perform, we needed to make things work, and we needed to be ready for that major. And now we were finally there, and we were just one step short of actually making what had been planned for like almost a year. So in some sense, there was no room for error. So in that sense, it was just meant to be in some sense.
So what do you think then about the whole sentiment from the community after the major? Now people don't really talk about it that much, but like directly after the major, maybe in the off season, people are like, yeah, this is one of the weakest major runs, one of the worst majors, blah blah, stuff like that. Do you feel like that's just overhyped, or considering like all of the props you gave to like some of the newer teams coming in and stuff like that?
I think it's a big mixture of yes and no, because there's a reason why the top dogs were not there. They had crumbled somewhere, they had choked somewhere, they did not make the expectations. So in some sense, that's their own fault. So that's always just a really bad excuse. And I also think that all the players, majors is just special. Majors are special in the sense that it's the biggest thing you can compete in Counter-Strike. It's the one that everyone wants to win the most, and that is also where the most people crumble, because they don't know how to handle their pressure. They get nervous, and they don't know how to handle expectations, and they get frustrated and blah blah blah. And they know that, okay, if we screw this one up, we're gonna have to wait maybe 6 months before we can try again, and then blah blah blah. There's just so many things on the line. I think that is where people have a really weak mentality and a mindset to overcome a lot of these hurdles. And it might not just I'm not saying that it's like one specific team where everyone is trying, but it might be just 1, 2, maybe 3 individuals in a team that doesn't have the coolness to handle everything. They just perform 3% worse than they normally do, and that's why you see all these games going the wrong way. But at the same time, you also see the young guys. That is the best place where they can show what they're capable of. If they go in and they play a hell of a major, they will get good contracts, and that is exactly what you've seen in this player break. That a lot of the guys that stood out and did something really great, they've also picked up a contract now, and for them now, I think what is probably the toughest thing for them is that people expect them to play exactly as they did at the major in every single game they're playing, and if they don't manage to rise up to that kind of expectations, that is where they will start like snowballing. If they don't get control of of their emotions, they will start snowballing and wondering, why am I not playing as well? Was it the right move? Was this the right thing? Why is my team not doing this for me? Blah blah blah. There's so many things that can make you doubt yourself. And I think that is where a lot of, obviously, the young guys need some experienced guys to go and help them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that kind of reinforces a little bit what we talk about in those kind of tournaments, right? The pressure and being able to and I guess that's where a dupreeh and a Majot to a Vitality worth their salt. You achieved exactly what you had set out to achieve, right? So that's pretty cool. I was just looking though at the history of all the major finals that you had. Only one of them was a 2-1. That was the one against VP. The rest of them were all 2-0s.
That's true. That's true.
Kind of nice, right? No pressure, just 2-0s. Not a map, not 1-1, not going to a third map, just getting 4 out of the 5 done in 2-0 fashion.
Most of them were pretty one-sided, right?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Avant-Garde. Remember there was the Avant-Garde one?
Yeah.
Well, I think we had didn't we have a, I'm not sure if it's, I think the record is broken now, but we did have a record at some point where we wouldn't have lost a playoff game in a long time. I think it was back in Astralis. I don't remember exactly how it was, but we had a long streak going where we wouldn't drop a map in playoffs. I don't remember.
Sounds about right. I don't know. It's the most legendary Counter-Strike team of all time, so I'm sure there's a couple of those things.
Someone needs to check that up. No, I think it was up there, but sure. I mean, winning finals like that, 2 series, it's nice. It's always it can always be very scary to go on the third map in the grand final.
But I just about you've done something that very few players have done 5 times. It's like come the 5th time. Like, does it feel easier?
No, I think it's a mix of so many things. It's a mix of obviously dedication and also skill, but there's also there's also a handful of luck combined with everything. Like, you need to find a team where you just function. Like, the team needs to function, the system needs to function, everyone wants the same. And I think it's easier said than done that everyone wants the same within a team because everyone wants to win. But it's all about how do you get to the point where you are actually winning? How do you get there? How can you get along in the whole?
Well, tell us, Peter.
Yeah, but that's no, I'm not gonna sit and say it here. Someone can pay me for doing that. I think there's so many things that makes a good Counter-Strike team. One thing is obviously you hit all the headshots and you will kill your opponent faster than they kill you. That's very simple basic Counter-Strike. But when you go into like details of how each individual player function and how he needs to practice and what he needs to practice and how do you get people to complement each other in the specific situation, and I think we had a really good example in Vitality, and I think that it's something that a lot of people are actually also questioning, because when you saw us, which is now in the past, I guess, when you saw Apex play a lot of like the high octane positions where you get like a lot of action and you're playing the rotation, you're playing outside of nuke, and you're playing connector mirage, and all these positions that people consider star positions. People are usually saying that why is Apex playing those positions because he's not fragging as well as Spinks is or Nico or whatever that could be. But what Apex brings to the table is that he makes decisions and makes call outs for ZywOo to perform better. He's put there to make ZywOo perform better and not just to. It's not all about just this guy has to mad frag on his vision. He also makes the guy on A play better because he's supporting him on A a lot better. If you would have put we at a position or a time we had Spinks playing connector, he did not feel comfortable, and we had huge issues playing on the A side because Majot didn't get any help. I don't think ZywOo felt comfortable because he felt like someone needed to take a lot more initiative and taking some charge. And eventually, that just shows that even though you have a player in the team that statistically is not putting up the numbers that you expect from in his given position, he will benefit so much by giving extra percentage to the rest of his team. That is stuff that people will definitely overlook in Counter-Strike nowadays.
Do you think it's very different compared to the time in Astralis? I mean, I don't know if this is something you said or one of your teammates from those times, but from what I remember, a lot in Astralis was left kind of like unspoken. A lot of it was just very natural chemistry that you guys had. So was it more down to the hard work in Vitality compared to Astralis? What was the difference between those two approaches, really?
I think when we got the right piece and the role set in Vitality, I think we started reminding ourselves a lot of like how things were back in Astralis, at least how the system works and how the management works and how we approach the game. Like we found a way that everyone in some sense felt comfortable and we could get the maximum out of each individual person in the given situation. And I think that is one of the reasons why we also started performing that well, and also why you see them perform well right now. Is that the system is simply working, and you know that everyone in the team knows what to do. And I think that is like one of the key components to get a team to work. At least in the long run, yeah, you might have a team winning a tournament. You see T2 winning Cologne, and then all of a sudden they would have dropped off, and maybe they would have lost another tournament in the future, whatever. You know, they are still consistent, but they're not like consistently making it to the finals and winning them and all that kind of stuff. You know, I think it's we remind ourselves a lot about how things were in Astralis, and I think back in Astralis it was just so new that a lot of teams were not kind of like, it was just such a new approach to the game, like defining how Counter-Strike should be approached. I don't think a lot of people knew that, and I think it's a lot more common now. I think people have gotten a lot closer and also a lot better as individuals. But I still think there is quite a gap between the ones that that can perfect the whole setting around the team than the ones that just do it occasionally, and then all of a sudden they get an event where things are working out, and then the next event they might drop out in quarters.
Okay, all right. Well, let's shuffle down the not so sunny path here. So you've lifted the 5th major trophy. It's all good. You were just alluding to this conversation a little bit before, talking about younger players and next generation and all that, getting contracts. But as everyone is aware, you got benched and Flamesy comes into the team here. But do you want to kind of talk us through that entire situation / process from your perspective? Because I think it was, it blew away a lot of the community. I can only imagine from your perspective.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's definitely not a secret and something that I've openly wanted to talk about for a while. So sure, I will. It's as everyone has probably expected or like figured out, then it came as a surprise for me as well. It was not something that I saw coming. And I mean, especially not when you look at the results that we managed to do just coming into the benching, and also that we managed to climb as the best team in the world in the rankings and everything. Everything started to look like, okay, we've actually figured out how we want to approach this. And then we ended the season by losing to Heroic in the Blast finals, and everything was set. We talked about that. Yeah, let's go home now. We are in a really good place. We're gonna go home and relax, and then we're gonna return for fighting for Cologne, which is an event that me and Magic and Sonic never achieved to win in Astralis either. So that was like the first main goal from coming back from the season. And we also wanted to do good in the event in Royal Copenhagen or Royal Arena, sorry, because it was important for us, because now we just want something in Paris for the French. Now we want to do that for things as well. And everything seemed very nice, got home, everything was just chill. And then all of a sudden I started seeing a few rumors on Twitter saying that Flamesy was going to get picked up by a big organization, or that his contract is running out, and people were in talks. And I started seeing people posting about it, and for a brief moment I was like, damn, could this actually be true? Like, is there something to it? And unfortunately, with how esports is sometimes, most rumors are unfortunately true. So I actually decided to not pursue it and not put anything into it. Gotta swallow that. And then a couple of hours before I leave for my vacation, I get a call from Sonic, and he wanted to talk with me. And at that moment, I actually knew exactly what he wanted. So at that stage, it was like, if you want to talk with me, you got to talk with me right now, because I know what you want. And at that point, I came to my realization that, okay, this is actually true. I'm actually getting benched from a team that is the best team in the world, and we've just won the major, which was kind of unreal in some sense. And to this date, I haven't talked with Sonic yet about what happened. We're gonna do that. We're actually gonna do that on Friday. And it's not that I've not wanted to talk with Danny at all, but I needed to get like a mental space away from everything. I needed to figure out what was going on and what was happening, and also to evaluate, like, where do I take my career now. And I think that's been very important for me, that I've tried to figure out what I wanted. And then, one day just, everything just ended in some sense in the Vitality, which is really weird. From one day to another, I just felt myself on the bench, and I've been playing this game for 10 years. I've never been benched in my whole career. I've been close to in Astralis, but I managed to come back. That was also on the Zonic. So in some sense, he got his revenge. No, but I was dealing with different stuff back then compared to what I did now. And what has probably bothered me the most about the whole thing is that also, as Sonic has mentioned in a lot of his interviews, that I did everything that was asked of me. I changed my role. I changed my perspective of how I was supposed to play the entry frag. I was more like a space creator now that was just going all in for just creating space for the stars to shine, which I had a hard time figuring out how I wanted to do it because it was not a way that I was used to playing. I've always been used to playing the percentages and playing around the whole tactical, like taking calculated risks back in Astralis, whereas this was more like, okay, I'm just gonna run through the smoke, or I'm just gonna go even though I'm completely flashed or whatever it could be to create space for the stars. And also when Spinks joined the team, I lost a lot of my more favorable positions, and obviously my stats also took a beating from that. And I think that's also, nowadays people just look at stats and that's what they judge. That's how they judge players. And of course, playing at Interfrag, like full-time Interfrag on the T side, and then playing a handful of anchoring positions on CT. I mean, you gotta be really, really good at the game to have like a really, really good rating all the time. So there was a lot of things on the line that I felt was unfair in some sense. That I feel like I contributed the best possible way that I could to the team. We had just won the major. We had just won a title prior to that. I made made a grand final as well. And then all of a sudden, getting benched. So I actually had a feeling that I couldn't have done anything to have prevented this benching. That's the feeling that maybe even if we would have won in Washington, it probably would have happened. So yeah,
you think it probably was in motion regardless?
I'm pretty sure, and I'm as I haven't talked with him yet, as we're gonna do soon. Then I'm not even sure like when and how fast did this is even happen. Like, did it happen in 2 days, or was it like planned for a long time? Or I have no idea actually.
Well, I want to ask you because, as you said, you finish Washington, you guys will fly home. The next thing is to focus on Cologne, and then you have the break, come out of that, keep picking up where you left off before the break. Had you at any point in recent history been considering what your future as a Counter-Strike player was going to look like, or were you still rolling with the punches of this is like, because the family stuff was already happening at that point, right? Had you at that point been considering what was coming next? Before the benching?
Yeah, I think I've been considering that for the last 5 years of my career. I think I was back in Astralis. We were actually advised to already back then to think about whenever this stops, what are you gonna do then? And at that time you're like, plenty of time. I have lots of time to think about that. But now I wouldn't say I'm in a position where I don't want to, because I'm still eager to play. So that's still my determination. But of course, it's been it's been on my mind to think about, okay, so what happens if I actually don't happen to continue to play? Like, what will I do then? Will I continue in the industry? Will I do something completely different? But that is something that I've decided to put effort into whenever the first priority of staying as a player is not going to be present anymore. So I'll take that at another time.
So at that time, it was just keep going.
It's always been like keep going, and there's probably also a lot of people that's been asking me like, why don't you just stop? Like, you've accomplished like the most of any out of any CSGO player right now. You won 5 majors and participated in all 19 majors, and why don't you just quit it? Like, leave it and stop at the top. Sure, I could do that, but I don't feel like I'm finished. I'm honestly just super addicted to the whole process of working with a team, and continually getting better and lifting trophies and competing to being the best. Like, I need to have something that I'm competing in right now. And of course, I mean, I'm 30 now. I have a kid, and that's also why I think that a lot of people they seem to think that, okay, so whenever you turn 30 and whenever you get a kid, there's definitely not going to be room for you to play Counter-Strike anymore. And that is definitely not the case for me. And I believe that's also the case for all the other guys playing Counter-Strike right now that are dads. We still want to do this, but of course, I cannot sit at my PC 15 hours a day like I could when I was 20 years old.
None of us can, mate.
No, but that's what I mean. All the 20 years old that gets the laundry done by their mom and get cooked, they can do it. But none of the adults can do it. So it's and for me, luckily, I've always had this thing that I cannot put too much effort and too much time into. Effort is the wrong word, but too much time into Counter-Strike, because if I would just sit there and grind for 12, 13 hours a day, I would simply lose the interest in the game. I would get fed up. I would not feel like it's funny. And I've tried that too many times in my career where I've been trying to grind so much that I actually end up in a slump, because I've been focusing so much on what can I do better, how do I minimize my mistakes, instead of just going with the flow, fixing the mistakes that is like completely necessary to fix, and then obviously just enjoying the game, because then you get in this natural flow of what you do and everything. Like you play on the
diminishing
intuition.
returns at that point, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I imagine Prof and Striker, you've got a lot of questions here, but it depends on which way we want to pivot, right? So, Prof, you got anything to do with the whole benching period?
I think just to kind of wrap it all up, you mentioned it yourself. It's like you've never been benched. Like your whole CSGO career is like the Astralis core from the start, and yeah, there have been like some struggle periods in terms of you've been good but not been able to win trophies. But this seems like after winning the 5th major, which is like the achievement no one else is going to get, you get the benching. That feels like the worst part of your career, like the inverse of the tipping. Like the tipping point is there, and then you kind of go into the dumps. Like, is this kind of how did you process this? Because like 2 very different emotions in a very short period of time.
I think there's 2 things to this one, and I don't think my private life has ever been so relaxed and so well. Like the benching has never been this well timed in terms of my private life. Getting unique time with my kid has been extremely well for me, and it's been really good for my whole family, not only for him but also for my girlfriend. Like we really have had some quality time that I wouldn't have if I would have continued playing. So if we look on the private side of the whole benching, I don't think the timing could have been more perfect. And then if you look on the professional side, I mean, sure, the timing is really, really bad, but at the same time, in some sense, now that CSGO is coming to an end, I'm also feel like I'm a little bit blessed that there's another game coming on just on the other side of the probably soon. And in that sense, it's I have something new to look forward to, something that has not really been discovered yet. I'm sure the game looks a lot like Counter-Strike, like CSGO, but I still think that is a new way to find new motivation. And of course, I also have the motivation of knowing that the next major is going to be in Copenhagen, which is something that I've been looking forward to hopefully experience in my career, and it hasn't happened until now. And then of course I get benched. That's also I also hate Danny for that one, but I think he's listening right now, so Danny, you're an asshole for that one. No, but I mean that's how it is, But then I think it's also been weird because it's also about showing that you still want to compete, and of course that is also putting hours into the game. But I feel like it's been weird trying to put in hours into CSGO when it's just getting phased out at this given point. Also because I want to put hours into CS2. I mean that's like in my head it just makes more sense to put the hours into that game, because that's going to be the future. And with my contract and everything, I'm still trying to. I would get really surprised if I would find a team in CSGO, because it's ending so soon. So I would much rather put the hours into CS2, because that is where I think I can make an impact.
Is that what you're doing then?
It is what I've been doing. I mean, the first month of my benching has mainly been about just taking a step away from the game, taking a step away from everything, because I needed to just relax and just swallow it all and figure out what I wanted to do. It came as a shock for me, so I had to figure out how I want to cope with it. And now that I've had the time to figure out what I wanted and what I want and everything, then I think I'm also in a much better place mentally, because it was very much needed. Because I don't think if I would just jump for one team, like let's say I get benched in Vitality and would have signed with another team like a week later, I don't think I would have done well. I honestly don't think so, because there's so many things that I've been used to on the Vitality side, and getting coached by Zonic and everything that I've it would be such a huge transition for me that it would take a long time, I think. So I think it's actually been it's been a break that I've enjoyed in a really good way to find found motivation to figure out how I want to approach things in CS2.
Yeah, that's a pretty unique position to find yourself, like the whole thing. But like the fact that it's kind of lined up with this, and hearing from you that you want to keep playing and stuff, like it's almost like the great leveling again, right? It's like another ice age is about to come, and we're going to see who's about to survive. You know, are the woolly mammoths going to make it, or are we going to have something new coming through? But I think the time off for reflection, especially, we spoke about this before we went live, like Device coming out and saying, you know, like with his break, now he gets to decide that he wants to be in the server. He decides that he wants to be a professional Counter-Strike player. Before, it was kind of just going from thing to thing. You were essentially in that same boat, right? And going, you know, like, what is it? What's the Australian saying? Like a lizard drinking, I think. Like flat out like a lizard drinking, I think is the one. That you've just been doing the same thing, and you've also evolved with Counter-Strike this entire time and got to see and played a huge influential role in the game developing over the last decade. So to kind of take a pause at this moment, like we're literally at the birthday of Counter-Strike. Well, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of all, I don't want to say it's worked out nicely, but it could, depending on what the future of your story, right? It could be a blessing in disguise. Do you think about that?
I've in the beginning when I got to know about the benching, of course it was tough, and I'm not gonna lie, it still can be tough. Some days it can be more tough than others. Especially when the tournaments are going. I think when tournaments are running, I think it's more difficult because now I know how everything is rolling. You know, I know how it is to be at tournaments, and I want to be there. You know, but unluckily I'm not. So of course that is more tough. But now that we have a little bit of breaks in between, we also have Pro League coming up. I think it's gonna be some time for me to figure out even more like what I want to do. But for sure, it could be a blessing, and recently I've tried to just look at things in the most possible, like in the most positive way that I actually can, instead of trying to have a grudge or trying to just keep being bitter about things. I would much rather just look ahead. I think that's more valuable for me. I think it's more valuable for everyone. So that's the approach that I've decided to take, to just also make myself feel better, because I've had days where I've been like really grumpy because things were just like super shit, and I just didn't feel motivated about anything. But the last couple of days has been really good, figuring out what's going to happen next.
There is a sentiment from, like, I've seen it on Twitter. Someone just put something similar in the Twitch chat, right? Prof brought up a similar point before, but there is a sentiment that's like, hey, this guy is so accomplished, right? He has a spotless record as far as CSGO and majors are concerned. Nobody can touch what you've achieved. You stand alone in that. And there's people who look at that, and I guess maybe it comes from a position of fear for you and what your legacy represents now, but people with a sentiment of like, why would he go on when I guess they're viewing the future as potentially on the back nine, on the way down. Like, do you give any credence to that type of a sentiment? How does that thought make you feel?
Of course, it's knowing that I could just end things now and just say, okay, I have like almost a spotless record, and that would be very nice. But I wouldn't stay true to myself. I think that's probably the most important thing, that I wouldn't stay true to myself, because I know that I still want to try and I still want to play the new game. I want to continue building with a team and find a place where I can make new things happen and keep building upon my career. And that is just what I've set as a goal. And I've achieved probably 4 out of 5 of my goals in my career and my personal goals. So I have like an 80% track record. So I think I'll take the shot.
Okay. Well,
what's the one missing?
That's a clone, or what is that?
Well, if you add that one, then I could probably go one less. But sure. But no, I think it was when I hit. I think I was in 18. I was top 5 on the rankings, and I wanted to break into the top 3 next year. I did not manage to do that. It only went downhill from there, so let's not talk about it.
I think one thing that you're talking about here is like, and what people talk about is like, if he retires, his legacy is intact. But like, people speak of legacy in that way as if the legacy is only winning or losing. I think like every player has more legacy than just being, a result or a prize winning or whatever. Like, what do you want to be remembered for? What should be your legacy towards like people that are watching CS?
I think the longevity, of course, but also proving that age and getting kit is not it's not like you're not supposed to stop just because you get, like, you can still you see that in every other tradition as well. Like, why shouldn't you be able to do that in esports as well? I mean, like, you can still contribute and you can still win titles. You can still be relevant, even though you're 30 years old and you have a kid. Sure, your priorities in terms of maybe sitting at the PC 15 hours is not going to be doable, but from one like me, where I have 10 years of experience in creating different, like being on different rosters and playing with different rosters and complete like like a lot of different players, and knowing how to get a team to function, I think that is the like that's like the golden drops that a team sometimes need that they actually do not have. Yeah, they have the kids that can hit headshots, but they don't have the guys that keep their cool when the shit hits the fan. They don't have the ones that can actually realize, oh, why are you worried about this and why are you thinking so much about that? Just focus on your game and everything, And especially with all the new players coming into the game, I think there's so many of the new players that are like so obsessed about stats. They're so focused on getting, that's just how the world functions now. Like everyone is just looking at you and they want to rate you and they want to look how you do. And like, it's all about looking good on the outside. And, everyone wants to look good. It's part of being human, I guess, that you want to look good towards other people. But that's just not how Counter-Strike functions sometimes. Sometimes you just need to take up just suck it up and just get the job done so your teammate will do the good thing. And that's just how it is. And sometimes it'll be you. And that is where I think a lot of the new players, they need to understand that at least.
Okay.
What do you? I mean, how do you look at your future in that case? I mean, from what you're saying, it kind of sounds to me like either you kind of want to build a team in a place where, like, okay, you get some young shots together, and then you're
missing the obvious one right here, Striker. Here's the obvious one.
Okay.
I can think of a Danish team who's struggling in the big matches. No, like, why not?
I mean, of course, yeah, of course. But I'm not gonna sit here and sell myself in that department. But of course, I mean, I would really like to share a lot of my my golden drops. But obviously, that sounds so fucking wrong though.
It's like in an adult film. dupreeh golden drops, X-rated.
That was so fucking bad. Oh my god, that was so bad. I apologize to everyone that's not.
To all the children out there.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's bedtime. Turn the lights out.
Yeah, but no, for sure. I mean, I would love that, but of course, there's a lot of requirements and there's a lot of things that has to get aligned for that to happen. But I mean, we'll see how things go. I mean, I'm definitely not in a position where I wouldn't want that. So yeah.
Would you in-game lead? I know a completely different conversation, but like you are being like an elder statesman, right? The fact that you've experienced so much, and we're looking at Snappy, 33, Carrigan's in his 30s, an in-game leader, right? You've played with some of the best in-game leaders that Counter-Strike's had to offer. Would that be somewhere that you'd look to turn yourself?
No, I think I'm too dumb to in-game lead actually.
Okay.
No, I think it has never, like, the overview has never been my strong asset in Counter-Strike. So I don't think that would be the wise choice for me.
You too tunnel vision, do you think?
I mean, that's why I'm an entry-fragger, right? I just keep
look at
Apex did
look
it.
at Apex though. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. But it also took a while, right?
He wants to win straight away. That's right. The next major's Copenhagen. I get it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think I've been quite surprised that Apex was actually he's also very tactically talented, gifted, which is I wouldn't say it's unusual for an entry-fragger, because I think the entry-fragger is always just this guy that just people probably would say, okay, he doesn't care about anything, he just keeps running, he just doesn't give a shit. Sometimes that is also what you need to have when you're in that type of role. But I think his transition to becoming an in-game leader has been pretty good. So that's great. Kudos to him.
All right. Well, gentlemen, where should we pivot here? Should we keep the ball rolling? Prof, I see you getting ready.
No, what do we have on the list?
We could go down memory lane a little bit here, because this could be fun.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, so we had Dimitri prepare our little slideshow here of just some different memories of you over the years through, I guess, HLTV's photo database. So we'll bring that up for everybody at home. Hopefully we can see that.
Feel like a send off. I hope this doesn't feel like a send off.
It's not meant to be.
Hey, that's a trophy.
This is a celebration of the greatest career in CSGO, right, in terms of the majors, right? That can't be touched. And I just thought it'd be fun to take a look through some of these and get some of your comments on some of the moments throughout your 10 years.
Yeah. Imp before his weight loss, if you didn't know.
Damn, This is like a slideshow of me losing weight as well.
That one was in the Katowice gym, so that's going to be the 2014 major, right? With as Dignitas there.
Yeah.
I think did I play you at that major, or I played you in your TSM. I think it was the next year. We played on train. Then we got 7 rounds.
Oof.
There was the Gamescom one as well.
Oh, I remember this interview.
We did the interview together.
I thought about that the other day.
Really?
Yeah, I did. We should have continued that one.
Yeah, we've been saying that for forever. You know, for people who don't know, we've done like some like stupid interviews in like the water right there, and
exactly.
with
there's a sex shop in
Romania. Yeah, that was a good one.
Damn, I mean, esports was so much more fun back then.
Yeah, we could have done anything, man.
That's when the Twitch credit card was used for the.
That's the one where we did that. That's what I think. That's the one.
This is actually when my career, like the whole TSM thing, started to accelerate. When we were playing Fnatic all the time, and this is when we just created Astralis. I think this is like the first edition of the first edition of the Astralis shirt, and the first year or so, where everything didn't really work out that well. I mean, it was still a really new big thing. The
E-League studio, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I miss E-League so much. It was such a great tournament. Kiabi as well. This was the first tournament we won together as in Astralis.
I was there. Woo.
Yeah.
I was not here.
The major. This was I was about to get benched prior to this major, actually.
Really?
But the UNZip.
No, Zip was early, I think. That was all the way back in Dignitas, I think.
What happened? 2015 when like
what
Zip
happened? What happened then?
Well, nothing really happened other than, I was just told that I should get my shit together, and I decided to put my shit together, and then I started performing again.
That's good motivation. Hey, exactly. Shape up or you're gone. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we had this meeting in Copenhagen maybe a week or two before we went to the E-League event, and I remember that Zonic like cleared my name, and everyone was like clapping. It's like, yeah.
You're not getting kicked.
Yeah. 10 years later.
Is that the end of the slideshow, Luke? Oh no, am I still going?
This is 2018, bro. There's so much time.
I thought so, but it just stopped.
This is when we picked up Glaive. I think. Not this one, obviously, but the one before.
Marseille.
No, just before that, yeah.
One of my few MVP medals.
But this is where Counter-Strike changed. This is where you guys decided to become mega geeks with utility and kind of become the most structured team.
It was so easy back then.
Well, you guys were just so. Did it feel like everyone else was playing a different game to you guys back then?
I think we were just
major 2018.
We just figured out how to approach the game a lot more professionally in terms of using utility and counter-stratting a lot, and we just won so much by doing that. Like we literally had a good we would just spend time counter-stratting, and then we would figure out how we wanted to approach the game. And then we were like, okay, we see this pattern. Okay, we know exactly what's going to happen. Like, if you know what exactly is going to happen in Counter-Strike, you're going to win.
So considering it's been so long, can you give us like one good example of like how you won a game, like playing against, I don't know, FaZe at the time, or SK, or whoever was like, did you just like figure out, like, let's say, I don't know, Nico is the best player on this team, he's playing like this, and now we can use this smoke, this nade set here to kind of win the game essentially?
There's so many good examples with the utility where we just stack the grenades because it's a position that we know that the guy is playing, and especially if you see, let's use overpass as an example. If we see that the first smoke always gets deployed from CT, and then you have a pattern seeing that the smoke gets deployed from barrels. When you see that pattern, you know that they will have a setup playing one pillar, one playing wood, and then you just, okay guys, he's gonna play wood this round, and we just double it, and we get and we get a free kill. It's patterns like that. And then you would also know that whenever we go into we know that we could sneak into, we could just sneak in monster and just get a power flash contact, and we would win like that. That's also a way we could do it. So there's so many different ways. There's also a funny story actually, because I remember back in the days when Heroic and Godsend and Astralis, which used to be owned by Refresh back in the days. And we went to the E-League major, I think it was, and good old Graham Pitt was apparently the Misioso. He was coaching Godsend,
right?
Yeah. And he came to us after the game because they won the pit. It was train, and they won the pits around. We were playing as T, and they were playing as CT. So we started T and they started CT, and we played against Godsend. And afterward, I think we lost. I'm pretty sure we lost.
I think you lost that game.
Yeah, we lost the game. So the funny thing is that then Majot, he walks up to us afterwards and says, "Yeah, guys, we just knew exactly what you guys were doing, especially in the pitch round, because we knew that you were gonna go inside because someone goes Ivy to make the birds fly, and then you would rotate inside. So he countered us because we made the birds fly in Ivy.
Wow. The pigeons gave you away.
Which was not even that was not even the case. We didn't even know. I don't even think we talked about the whole thing. Like it was just he just came up to the conclusion that he had anti-threaded because the birds were flying.
Did you have like a favorite execute over the years that you got to be a part of? Like because I always remember when I was on the desk, the one that I loved you guys doing was the overpass one with like the double mollies and the way that you would par into the site, right? You'd like was there any executes that you really enjoyed, or was there one that you were kind of like a pioneer of or something throughout that period of time?
We had obviously the one you mentioned, the Astralis execute from short. That was one of the key ones that I think was Glaive who came up with it, especially the way that he wanted the utility, and it just happened so fast, and it just happened so explosive that I would always catch a guy. I had like the perfect running pattern because I was always going to shoot the first guy in the side, and then the other guy was going to get blind. So I'd almost get a double kill if people were playing like in the way that we expected them to play. So that was obviously very funny. And then we also had one on Inferno that I came up with back in the days. That's a long time ago though. But you would smoke off long from boiler, and you just basically just do like a really super quick execute into short. And I don't know, people were just stupid back then. So whenever they got smoked out of a long, they were just still standing behind the smokes. So in that sense, it's always fun to create a tactic that makes you perform or makes you and also recently, actually, on Anubis, I think with the new edition of Anubis, you also had like the B-pop that a lot of teams would have a hard time going against, that you would just smoke towards spawn, and then you just do like a lot of flashes hitting behind you, and you just keep running. And it was so hard for the CTs because they couldn't basically peek you without getting blind. So it's all about finding the right timing. We also use that one a lot.
What you just brought up there is a perfect little segue for me. Unless anybody had any questions about rolling down memory lane here. Otherwise, I'll move us on, because a new map. We're about to go into a new game, and you've obviously made your intentions clear here. So, CS2, what do you find of the game so far, dupreeh? Are you impressed? Are you like, oh shit? What are the impressions so far?
I think the game, first of all, looks really nice in terms of the graphical update. I think that is something that Counter-Strike has probably been needing for a long time. I think that's really, really good. I really like that you can see your own feet. I think it's pretty cool.
Okay.
You're like the only person who likes that.
That fucked me up the first time so hard.
I think that's so cool. I'm gonna be very excited for the new smoke mechanic. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. And obviously the whole fact that the smokes originally they were a lot bigger. Now they changed them to make them smaller. And I still see a lot of pro players. They're just like, oh, the game is gonna be great now. They just need to remove the smoke mechanic. And it just feels like. I just feel like the people are very uncomfortable around the whole thing, because it's like a territory that hasn't really been explored yet. Like there's so many opportunities that you could potentially get caught off guard out. There's a lot more tactical depth that you can actually start figuring out, which I think is pretty cool. But there might also be an issue that we might not see yet. That we'll see whenever the game gets picked up a lot more. But from now on, I'm just really hyped for the game. Like it feels really good. Like I feel like it feels super clean, and sure, there's still gonna be plenty of bugs to be looking at. And I'm also pretty confident there's gonna be a lot of changes to either the way that some weapons might function, or how the grenades function, or whatever, and they might adjust it, like we saw in Global Offensive back in the days with the whole Molotov slowing and couldn't get extinguished and whatnot. So I'm sure that Valve is also open for these offers. Like if they can see that there's an issue with the whole smoke, like exploding the smokes or whatever you want to call it. I'm fairly confident that they will also look at it. But obviously they also need to rely and listen to the casual player base. So it's not all about the
well, that actually takes us to the. Do you want to do the Vox Popular now, Prof? Because it actually would be the perfect time.
Yeah, we can do that, and then we can
do the Nerves of Steel, and then we can. Okay, cool. So the Vox Popular that we put out for this week is to do with the MR12 debate, dupreeh. And there was a poll that went with it. Now, let me just find it here. I retweeted it a little bit earlier. I just want to make sure I got this correctly. So the tweet goes, the hottest topic of the last week was MR12, and we'll surely talk about it during tomorrow's show. But okay, tonight. What do you think? Let us know in the replies. And the poll is there. And the options in the poll are, the question is, would you like to see the switch to MR12? Yes, no, either works, not sure yet. Now, I'm going to self-report here. I put not sure yet. Right? Like I'm someone who's more than happy to have this conversation about MR12 and what it could mean, but I'm not sure either way. And I know that some other changes probably have to come through. Where do you land with that question? How does MR12 make you feel?
uncomfortable because I've never tried it. I think that is like as with CS2 and the all new mechanics and everything. I mean, it's just something that we haven't tried yet, so we actually don't know if it's going to be beneficial or it's going to be worse. I think there's pros and cons to both situations. Obviously, we for a long time now we've experienced, especially arena games at big stages or big tournaments, just getting like super long, and they will end, and the game is gonna start like really really late. And I think that is an issue that that some games literally just gets too long. It gets very exhausting for the players. It gets very boring for the spectators, unless it's like super close, Cologne grand final, whatnot. You just want more, you know. But that's like a rare case. Then I've seen a few comments on social media stating that there could be issues in terms of economy, especially about grabbing ops, mainly because that the whole obviously the op is pretty expensive, and if you end up getting like losing the wrong rounds, getting money fucked like quite early in the game, there could be an issue where you would only pick up a single op throughout the game. I just saw that is something that people debated, and that could also be an issue unless it's like a nerf for the op, that is like an unintended nerf for the op, that they want to see less of it, but I'm not sure. But I still think it could be tried out actually.
So you feel the jury's still out, but you kind of need to see it in action so you can make some conclusions.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, that's a very mature view on it. Like, look at that community. Couldn't we all use a little bit of that in our lives? It's just one of these things where it's a knee-jerk reaction, right? And that's the thing. When we've had people now who have been in this community for an extremely long time, we've seen multiple different iterations have come through. I think we learned with the nade thing, for example. I think there was even a lot of pushback in the dropping nade situation. I think that just added more nuance to the game and offered up more strategies and tactics that are available. But there's always going to be like, my thing is, we're going to lose a version of the game, which is definitely the best version of Counter-Strike we've ever had. Like CSGO right now is better than 1.6 at its peak. It's better than anything Source offered up or CZ or anything. It's a great little mixing pot of everything. I feel being good at shooting is rewarded, right? Like it was in 1.6. It's not just so spam heavy and move heavy, but also having nuance with utility is heavily rewarded, and understanding the game on those levels. I feel like that's what my fear is, that we lose what we have, and that is scary.
Yeah. I think that is, a lot of people they're afraid of the unknown in some sense, and especially like, why would you change something that theoretically works? I think then you have flaws at the MR15 right now. You probably also have flaws when you go MR12.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, this is the same reason why I said yes. I mean, basically just because I want to see, like, I really want to see this tried properly so we can figure it out. Because, like, who knows? Like, maybe it is maybe it is going to make games a little bit more exciting, better, less save heavy, all that stuff that we have problems, quote unquote problems with in today's game. There's plenty of ways that it can be better than it is currently, but there's also some ways where it can be worse, in terms of maybe more random, like pistols maybe will have a bigger effect on the game, some key rounds, that economy fuck situations, will just be more important, which will make games a little bit more skewed probably and less favored heavy. So like all this stuff, there's credence to it, but I just want to see it tried and properly.
All right. Well, I want to dive more into that conversation a little bit later, because dupreeh's, he's a dad now. He's got to worry about getting the kid here. So I want to get a couple more questions, a couple more bits of your time in here, and ask you some gems, and the three of us can debate this till the cows come home a little bit later here. Do we want to jump into the Nerves of Steel thing, Prof? Yeah. Okay, so this is a little bit of fun here. Do you want to describe the concept to dupreeh? Because I don't have the full grasp just yet.
I can. Yeah, we're still figuring it out. Lucas just programmed everything today, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe everything breaks.
Your little game show.
It's a pretty simple solution game show setup. Essentially, we have 5 questions, and the idea here is to put some maybe some spicy questions that people want to hear about, and you need to answer all 5 for us to give away a headset. And
we're giving away a headset.
And essentially, we are kind of the judges, so we are judging you if we think if you're giving us an honest answer, or if you're giving us, a political. I'm not going to name any names, any players or people from orgs that might have been on the show before that gave us these. You ask them a question, they speak for 5 minutes, and it's like, That's
I haven't learned anything.
I haven't learned anything, right? Yes, there's some easy questions, some more difficult, and that's it. So
Before you get to question number 1, for those who want to be in the draw in the raffle to win the headset, type SteelSeries in chat now. That is SteelSeries, SteelSeries, SteelSeries. Look at that. I can spell. All right, Prof, you ready?
that's good. Yeah.
Drum roll,
Am I
please.
gonna read or are you gonna read?
I don't have anything in front of me. You're going to read.
I
Oh,
don't
they're
know.
going to be over here? I'm all
They're gonna be
pixelated,
there.
mate. I can barely read that. So you're going to read.
I'm gonna read. I have it somewhere on the side anyway.
All right. Well,
Okay.
I saw you paste them somewhere. So here we
Go
go.
for it.
Numero uno. Hit us, Prof.
That's the first question. This is straight from the community. The guy was in chat asking this question. He wants
All
to
right.
know this question.
For
The
our
answer
audio
to this.
only listeners,
How do you order your steak? And the guy put in brackets before, he looks like a well done guy. So
Oh, really? No.
no. That's what he said.
I'm a medium rare guy.
Medium rare.
okay.
Yeah.
What's your go-to? Do you have like a special place in Copenhagen? Where'd you get your best steak?
We have a place called Mesh, which is like
Classic.
Oh yeah.
The winner.
I guess you know
That's a
that
good
one. It a very short funny story was also that we used to go there every time we went because they had one in Copenhagen Airport, and we usually went there if we had the flights with Astralis back in. So we'd always end up meeting up at Mesh, eating that before going on flights.
Nice.
But now they closed, so
Oh,
Oh, rip.
so it's-
okay.
They have the
They do a
burger
good
place.
steak, though.
They have a burger place that you
Gasoline
like.
grill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's also really
fucking
good.
banging.
Yeah.
I had that the last time I was hungover as fuck. It wasn't great. It wasn't a great idea. It was too much for me.
Oh, okay. Because of the hangover, not
nothing
because of the
against-
burger.
Nothing against the burger itself. I don't
You better
remember
watch.
the
We're trying to get like a Counter-Strike discount every time we go through Copenhagen, Prof. Don't
Yeah.
fucking start this shit.
burger. Okay, I'll tell him you sent me next time.
There we go. All right,
Get
question number
things
2.
referenced. Question number 2: best teammate ever.
I'm gonna have to go with Zipex, I think.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
He's been around the like he's just such a lovely guy, and he's still a guy that I regularly talk to. So I think it would be weird saying that he wouldn't be my best teammate.
okay.
Does
I
it-
want
does
to
it
push harder here.
Yeah.
Would it have been Device if he didn't leave you?
He would be up there. I still have a lot of love for Nikolai, of course, but it's I don't know. Stuff was just I don't know. Me and Zippy just got really well together. I get along really well together. Just everyone did obviously, but I don't know. It just felt nice and natural, I guess.
Special relationship. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Happy with that?
Yeah.
I expect the device, so I am happy with that we got a different answer.
My-
3 favorite achievements.
Does that? Can I like?
Individual, team wise, whatever comes to mind.
Having a
So-
kid, meeting your
Can be-
partner, whatever
yeah.
you want.
Can be
Oh,
out.
okay,
out
so
the
it's like-
server as well.
Oh,
I think
okay,
that's
so
putting a lot of pressure
No,
on him right now.
let's
It's
just
just like
keep
it's
it-
gotta be.
Let's keep it to CS, otherwise it's gonna
Okay,
be.
yeah,
okay,
fair
we're gonna
enough.
keep it to Counter-Strike. So can winning 5 majors does that conclude like 1?
That can work as one. Yeah.
All right. So obviously, do I have to rank him or just like put them in?
Put all 5 as one, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, do I have to say okay?
Yeah,
That was
any order.
okay, any order. Okay. So yeah, winning 5 majors, winning the into the Grand Slam, and then obviously I would probably go with something like being on the best team ever. I guess if you want to frame it like that.
Yeah, we'll definitely say you're on the best team ever. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
There's
Something
I'm not
like,
gonna get any
how-
complaints here.
More like how you want to frame it. So
yeah,
those 3,
being
I
part
guess.
of the most influential Counter-Strike
Yes,
team in
thank you.
history.
Yes,
yeah.
that's what I meant.
That's a pretty good achievement. Fucking hell.
There's too many achievements. this is too easy. Almost.
Man, imagine being a guy who can say those 3 things. Like it's not just
I
like
thought
the
you
5
said it was gonna
majors.
be. I thought you said it was gonna be hard.
It's not just the 5 majors. It's not just the fucking.
No.
What was the? I even forgot the second
The
thing
Grand
because like I
Slam.
said, Grand
Grand
Slam.
Slam.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I honestly forgot about the Grand Slam. I forgot that that's the thing that
Because
you have.
Astralis won like literally everything. They won like 4 Grand Slams, man. If you go back and like try to recreate it, like dating
that would
back
be
and
fucking
everything.
awesome.
before they made it. Yeah.
Retroactively award $1 million every time.
I,
they
I,
win
rem-
the Grand
I remember
Slam.
when I was told about the Grand Slam, the whole idea about Grand Slam, and it was presented to me. I was like, no one is never gonna win that stuff because no one can win that many tournaments in a row or like in that amount of time. But now we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
Twist
all right.
and Twist did it twice. Let's go.
that's true as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Question number 4.
Device or ZywOo?
ZywOo.
Oh, no
It was
hesitation.
quick. That was
No, but
quick.
I mean that's nothing. I mean you can like put it in two different, how do you say, categories. I mean I think ZywOo overall has the higher skill ceiling. Like he's just really really good at the game. And you can definitely also claim that Device is also really really good at the game, obviously. But I think that ZywOo is it's kind of hard to like pick one and leave the other one out, but obviously I just did that. But the whole thing is that Nikolai achieved so much more than ZywOo did, but he also started his career a lot earlier than him. But when I'm looking at the names like that, I'm only like looking at the individual skill ceiling, like if he would go up against like, or at least the capabilities of winning absurd rounds or creating like ridiculous highlights. I mean, Device did that as well, but I've seen for the
Man,
one and a half.
device against NRG, that's 1v3 with a
Oh,
pistol
yeah,
with
that's
3
insane.
HP.
For sure.
That is like
also
one of my
very, very
favorite
impressive.
highlights of
It
all
is
time.
really, really good. But I've only played with like with 1.5 year, and the amount of things that I've seen from him, not only in official games, but also in practice games or whatever it could be. You know, sometimes he's like, yeah, dude, whatever.
What do you think about the community sentiment about ZywOo right now? Not like
What is the community sentiment about ZywOo right now, Prof?
I don't think there is an agreement.
I think there's more like a corner of a community rather
but
than.
there is a segment that like would kind of, I wouldn't want to say, I would say they're not giving him the respect he deserves. I would say it like that. There is just this, you know, I just feel like people are constantly trying to devaluate him as a player and what he achieved. So and the constant comparisons with Simple that I think are unfair to some degree.
I think it's again, it's so 2023 that we have to compare everyone, you know, but that's just what we need to do. Like it's so human that we need to compare each other with others. And why can't we just see it as like Device and Nico and Simple and ZywOo just being like the 4 greatest players of all time in this game, and just leave it at that? And who the fuck cares who won the most? I mean, move on.
What do you think about actually while we're on Device? What do you think about his return? I mean, he's just come back and literally just started destroying everybody, kind of like as if he never left.
Yeah. That's been super impressive. I mean, I was also really happy to. I sent him a text message whenever they. I think they lost in the semifinal in Cologne. I think it was.
Yeah, like last year. I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean this year.
This year.
This year. I mean, last year they also last year they also did, but it was.
Yeah. But now I mean this one, and I sent him a text just saying that it was super nice to see him, feeling like looking, you know, really happy, and like they seem to have figured out what they want to do with the team, and it just feels like the Astralis star is once again like a little bit higher in the sky than it's been the last couple of years. So I think it's been really impressive what he has done, but also what the Astralis guys have done in quite short amount of time, especially with what people started to expect of that roster.
Well, they were taking on water for a while there. It was definitely looking like a sinking ship for a little while there. So they sorted that out. All right, should we get on? Sorry?
Number 5.
Yeah, let's do it. Get on to 5. Big 5 alive.
Why did you really leave Astralis? This is for the clickbait title.
Really leave Astralis.
dupreeh says why he really left Astralis.
The real reason why I left Astralis was mainly just that I needed to find a place where I could start enjoying Counter-Strike again, and I didn't do that in Astralis in the last couple of months. So that's pretty simple.
Why didn't you enjoy Counter-Strike?
I didn't enjoy Counter-Strike because we were constantly changing players. We were constantly looking for the right fit for the team, and we knew that when we lost Device, we lost a huge how do you say, like a huge person in terms of our performance and how the team functioned, the identity of the team. So it was a big hit for the team, and there was not really anyone there to fill his shoes, and we never really came close to it either. And then when the contract negotiation started, it just went like, I wouldn't say it went complete bananas, but it just went to a point where we didn't want the best for the team, but we just wanted the best for each individual person. So it just, yeah. And the things that we want to stick together, but things just took a different turn, and yeah, that's what happened. And then that's why I started to lose my motivation. I started to lose my joy of the game, and yeah, I needed to find a place where I could continue enjoying the game that I've been playing for so many years. And luckily, I got in touch with Vitality.
Nice. You happy with that one, Prof?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to hear because kind of things that we know from these like small stories that happened, because it was the whole thing of like Zipex trying to kind of like, I don't remember what happened, but there was like an interview about him, like maybe looking for options, and there were like offers for individual players. There's like, this is all like 2021.
Almost like the Beatles breaking up, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know,
like,
yeah.
then Device left, and all of these things are kind of
Yoko happened.
It kind of felt like exactly what you said. Like everyone was trying to like pump up their own prices and their own valuations, and you can't really do that if you're going to be like, we want to stick together and we're going to take whatever offer happens. But how did that actually happen? Like, how did you stop being that group of like 5 players that won everything together, look like this like super cohesive unit, to be like, now we're kind of all looking out for themselves?
I think it ended with, I think it ultimately ended when Device decided to not renew his contract, or that he decided to break out of the group and wanted to go to NIP. I think that was like what was the nail in the coffin, because until then we've had the same contracts and we were ready to go to negotiation. And then at that time, sure, we didn't produce the results that we wanted to. Like we were still trying to adapt to the. I think that was that COVID? That's got to be COVID, right?
It's like there was like the tail of COVID.
Yeah, I think it was super tough for the team to have been dominating so many things offline, and then all of a sudden going into this online era thing where we would just play everything online, and all of a sudden you found teams that you normally never play against, winning tournaments and whatnot, and blah blah blah. People started talking about being onliners and blah blah blah. There was just so much shit going on, and yeah, when he left, we knew that he was such a big part of the team. Like I wouldn't say he was like the whole glue, but he was like a big part of it. That what kept us together, because he was the star player in the team, and we really needed him. So when he decided to quit, then we were just like, all right, let's see what we can get. Like we didn't give up in that sense, but we knew that it was going to be really tough to find the right replacement and actually to keep going in the same direction that we wanted to.
All right. Well, we have a winner.
Satisfactory answer.
I think someone got a someone won a headset. No?
Yeah, they did. That is the SteelSeries Nerves of Steel. It's Mrs. Am I saying this right, Lucas? Do it in Danish for me. Tromborg,
Mrs.
Okay, so I wouldn't pronounce the G. It's a soft G.
That's the I know
probably.
That's
the, everyone knows
fixture Counter-Strike events.
Yes, exactly. She's the one with the 2 girls.
Yes, yeah. I'm on her Instagram right now.
I think they're really big Cadian fans, from what I know. Not that there's anything bad about Cadian, but that is what everyone. I think that's what I think. They have also been at some of our signing sessions with back in the days with Astralis, but I think they transitioned to becoming more heroic fans eventually.
dupreeh's keeping his heroic application open here.
Yes,
just wants to clarify he has nothing wrong with Cadian. Just wants to add that for the record. But that is the winner of the headset. So congratulations. I'm sure Lucas can probably just drive that around to your house. Lucas, are you going to drive it around, save the shipping?
No, it's probably going to cost more to just drive over there.
Okay. Oh, I just thought, man, maybe we'd offer a service around here for the first time, but that's fine. You sort it out yourself, Lucas. Okay. We will ask a couple last parting questions here for Peter, and then we'll let him go. So, gentlemen, do we have anything at the tippy top about? I wrote down two things.
You go for it. I don't have anything. I don't know about Striker.
I have one thing, but I imagine Chad it's one of Chad's.
We'll see what happens. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. As a player who's played for 10 years, you've obviously seen the growth of the game, the tournaments, the teams, everything. So what is your, as before the benching, like as a modern Counter-Strike player, what was your biggest gripe of the way that things were or are at the moment? It could be anything in Counter-Strike. Could be the game. Could be the way the tournaments are run.
What do you specifically fish for? Like, what do you mean?
So like, I don't know. As a player, did you think? Because you hear from some players, the schedule's still too harsh, or like maybe you think that the formats are no good, or
people leaking all of the transfers and negotiations.
Yeah, could be anything along those lines.
Sure. I mean, like people leaking is I guess. I think I also took a hit from that tweet because people were like, "Oh, that happens in traditional sport as well." So, but yeah, of course it does. But it's just, I don't know. It's just weird being. I think it's just different being in the middle of it. That's like one thing. I think esports definitely could use a spark of professionalism in some sense. Sometimes at least it just seems like it can get a little bit weird. And then of course, I mean, I've taken up the debate about the whole schedule thing and with the summer breaks and that the schedule can get too tough, and it's all about the mental health in the end and everything. And I think that is just super important. But I don't know, I just feel like we keep going in circles. Like then they change something, then they change something back, and blah blah blah. And then of course we've had the one thing that I would put the most emphasis in is probably the whole partner thing with the tournaments. You've seen a couple of teams getting, I mean, most likely ENCE, because that's like what this has been the hottest topic in terms of not being a
Blast,
blast partner. And I know that Snappy has had a scratch about it, which is pretty funny at this point. But I totally understand him. And what I think was really, really interesting is that whenever you saw the major qualifications, like the major qualifiers, you'd see so many of the teams that didn't make the armor, that they had troubles actually qualifying. And sure, there is issues with having these type of qualifiers online, but I mean, like, you're gonna host like 800 teams at a tournament somewhere. That's not gonna work. But I think that is and a lot of people raised the flag saying like, how good is the tier 1 team actually? Like, are all these teams actually just participating in all these ESL tournaments and blast tournaments because they have someone paid for it? And I think that is something that is up to debate, which I think is, from what I know, is going to change whenever CS2 is going to hit in 25. No.
Yeah. So
which
the
I think
partnership should wind up next year, I believe.
Yeah, which I think is going to be really interesting. And then I guess we'll see if it's going to be good or going to be bad for the scene. But I think that is probably one of the things that it's been very tough for the. Sure, we've had FPL and whatnot, go out there and prove what you're worth, but you've had a different, like, it's been more difficult for the unknowns in some sense to go out there and prove their worth when they were not even playing, being able to play the big tournaments.
Yeah.
Obviously they had to go through the qualifiers, but yeah.
Okay. All right, Striker, what do you got for him?
No, I was just gonna ask if there's anything more concrete he's been talking, behind the scenes. I'm sure there must have been some teams coming and calling.
There's been a little bit of interest, but honestly, completely open, there's not been that much. And I think I was also a little bit unlucky in the terms that my the news about me getting benched in Vitality came pretty late. So there was a lot of teams that had already approached players, like new players to the team. So a lot of projects were already on the rise, and yeah, I guess that's just how it is. I mean, I'm just waiting it out, and I think that a lot of people could benefit from what I can bring to the team, especially on the experience part. So we'll see what happens.
All right, you got anything, Prof?
No, I'm good.
Okay, well, Peter, I want to leave you the floor now to say if you got anything left unsaid. If you want to say anything to the people out there, if you want to get a message out there, this is your time, mate.
Well, I just want to say thanks for everyone that tuned in and for everyone that has been supporting me throughout my career. And obviously, this is a minor setback in the whole journey, but I'm confident and hopeful that it's going to continue soon. And from now on, I'm just looking forward. And yeah, it's been difficult with the whole Vitality benching, but I've also been, in some sense, I mean, I've also been reading a lot of things online with people saying a lot of bad things about Sonic in terms of that he backstabbed me and he blah blah blah, did all the kind of things behind my back. And I just think it's important for people to know that there's like no bad blood between me and Sonic, even though we haven't talked yet. There's like, me and Danny are still really good friends. So I think it's pretty unfair that people seem to state that that he's been backstabbing me and everything, but it's just part of the game. Like, he had to make a really tough decision in the whole benching part, and it's part of the industry. And if that was the decision that the Vitality organization and he felt was the right one, then that's what it is. I just think it's important that people shouldn't like jump to the conclusion that anything bad happened between us. That's it.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you again for gracing us with your presence, giving us your time. Absolute legend of the game. 19 out of 19 majors, 5 majors won, and now a dad. So life keeps on giving. But looking forward to seeing you get back into things, and I imagine with CS2. So thank you again.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for having me.
Yeah,
awesome. All right. Well, everybody playing at home, we're going to keep things going for, I guess, maybe another half an hour, another 45 minutes or so. Still got some topics to get through here. We can return to some of the things we were talking to Peter about. So
you know what we are going to do first?
What are we going to do first?
We're going to have an ad break.
Oh, okay. Let's have an ad break.
It's a good vibe, it's a good vibe, it's a good vibe, God vibe 3.
Best esports odds. VIP program and a variety of bonuses. Fast and easy withdrawals. Bet on every possible CSGO match and tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22bet.
Do you want to change your boring old skins for awesome new ones fast without losing a lot of value and without the risk of getting scammed? Go to tradeit.gg and safely trade your items within 60 seconds. Just select which items you want to trade from your inventory and choose whatever skin you want from Tradeit's inventory. Click Trade, verify the trade on Steam, and you're good to go. With the biggest inventory available for the lowest trading fees on the market, tradeit.gg is your go-to whenever you want to play with new skins.
All right, we're
just-
back. Yeah, you
let's
want to
just
keep going?
continue. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we were just talking about, bringing in some more legacy people from around the community. If people have been paying attention to the Twitter sphere lately, one of the Swedish greats, Wally. I'm not sure if some of our newer audience would be too familiar with him, but used to play in the best Swedish 1.6 teams, SK, right? He was an AWP, he was an in-game leader. He's in some of my favorite frag movies from that time. He's been much more active on the social medias as of late. And we were just talking about the idea of maybe grabbing somebody like him and whacking him on the show and kind of getting some perspective for what things used to be like. The one he made a tweet about today, a player called Grims. So we were in the airport leaving Riyadh, and Vitality was on our same flight, and we were talking to Majot, like me, Henry, Machine, Moses, and I think Stunner was there, but he was probably asleep. He was pretty tired. But Majos used the word like Grimsy, like this reference to what Wally was talking about on his Twitter, and I was like, well, I don't know what he's talking about. And Henry goes, I haven't heard that shit in ages. Henry used to play with a lot of Swedes in the Source days. And then they started talking about the lore of this term, and they were like, that was the term for lurkers before lurkers. And then I saw this tweet from Wally today, and I was like, what the fuck? Like Henry linked it to me.
What are the odds?
Yeah, the coincidence. It was like, oh, that's wild. But this is from the 2000s, right? Like that's what we're even earlier, like the 2000s is when I was watching.
Early 2000s, maybe.
Yeah. And like some of these people, especially with them cropping back up, there was another guy, another Swedish bloke on Twitter the other day when there was a bit of a conversation about CGS, and he replied to one of the tweets, one of my tweets, Olander. I played against him back in the CGS days. This was 2008 days. Like, it's great to see some of these heads returning, because they can definitely offer perspective that maybe we've forgotten about. Like, I even saw Taz replying to some of these tweets. Like, yeah, I was so focused on CSGO, I forgot about some of this stuff. And I feel the same. Like, I sit there with Justin on TeamSpeak a lot of these days. We're watching old 1.6 frag movies, going back down memory lane of Aussie CS. Like, this has been a part of people's lives. I know I always go on this fucking bandwagon,
it's been 11 years. I mean, it is like, what, 2 days ago was the 11th birthday, right? Or something like 2 days ago.
21st, the Monday.
August.
Yeah.
So, like, it's been 11 years. Of course, we've forgotten half of this shit, and you have to get reminded.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I liked his whole tweet about like him like leaving home to like play professionally, and the whole like sleeping on floors for multiple lands, and like sharing 7 people sharing one hotel room, and all of these, and like comparing it to how it is nowadays. It is just a completely different thing.
I mean, at the time, like,
it's not the same thing. Yeah.
Like, there was the whole that basically the Polish guys had to win tournaments to earn any sort of like a living, right? Because they just didn't have any money. A lot of the time they were without an organization that would even pay them the little money that the players were getting as a salary at the time, so they literally had to win WCG to even earn a living.
Yeah, and we've already had players who have hung around the whole time. Like Natu is a great example. Someone just put his name in the chat, and still contributing now to count. Like, I don't know. I think all of these people have come in the past. Like, this is what the modern game is built upon. Like, is everybody in the past who played and sacrificed, and it all comes down to the same thing, which is enjoying and loving Counter-Strike, which is really, really cool. Anyway, should we get on with the show?
Yeah.
Had our little emotional break. So
nostalgia.
We're in the recent news. Do we need to run the bumper, Lucas, or are we fine? I don't know if we need to run the bumper. All right, run the fucking bumper. Be right back. Or in the recent news, and we were talking about MR12 with our Vox Populi with dupreeh just before. Do we have anything we really want to add to this? Because I've obviously seen a lot of discourse. People are happy to have their conversations. It's things that we've spoken about on the show before. I'm not even going to humor people like saying they want to make the game more like Valorant. Those people don't exist to me. They're not even human beings. They're fucking NPCs. We're just,
no, of course.
but like we've almost done this conversation to death. So do you boys have anything that you'd want to add in this modern conversation with we see it's more than breadcrumbs in the game, isn't it?
I just want to take a step back. Actually, someone made this comment in the Reddit thread about MR12 or something. Essentially, if the goal is just to shorten the game, there are different ways to do it that is not just MR12. And then he broke down like if you just like shortened the round back to what it was before, like 145
35-second bomb timer.
35-second bomb timer. If maybe you shorten the smokes a bit, less freeze time. Most importantly, if you remove the 3-minute ad break in halftime, that shortens the match quite a bit. Like we could still have MR15 and just have shorter games, and I think that wouldn't be bad. Like, what is the freeze time now? Isn't it 20 seconds?
20 seconds, yeah. I think E-League got it turned up to 20 seconds to do longer replays.
Yeah,
I think I'm not 100%.
I feel
that might be wrong.
I feel like that is unnecessary. Of course, you say like 5 seconds, that's not much, but like it adds up. Like especially if you're going to have shorter games, then you can just have ad breaks after the game. But like you want ad breaks during the game because that's when most people are going to be watching, blah, blah. It's a lot of give and take, but I think you could maybe do that and have a better result.
I will say this. I think without Twitch deals and partnerships, and I feel that Twitch are probably going to be loosening their stranglehold on the way that the broadcast, like TOs can move away. I'm probably wrong. I'm going to get a message from someone from Blast ESL being like, you don't know what you're talking about, which is probably true. But I've heard at certain events that we've done where the agreements with Twitch on there, you don't have to worry about because you got to put a certain amount of ads in an hour, right?
Yeah.
So in that period, I think there's some of them.
PGL doesn't have that. That's why
they don't run halftime ad breaks.
Yeah, that's why their majors don't have that break, and then it is nicer. It is nicer to watch, I have to say. But that's also kind of a lame thing to say. Oh, I like when there's less ads. Of course, like that's like
right. I wish I could schedule the ads so that I could go to the bathroom when the ad is on. Like, I wouldn't be a very effective fucking ad then, would it?
I actually do get triggered by just like the average behavior on the internet and what is accepted. Like there was another Reddit thread where someone complained about like ESL qualifiers running ads like in round 15 or like 29 or something. And obviously that's a mistake and shouldn't happen. Yes. But people are just like, oh yeah, just use uBlock Extreme 490, 420, 69, XXX and never have an ad again. It's like, is this just now normal? Like, let's just block all ads for everyone. So,
dude, I brought it up to one of my colleagues last night. We were having a conversation about them using ad blocker on HLTV. It's like, this is the one resource that you go to for literally all Counter-Strike statistics for the better part of the last decade. And you're using ad blocker on the thing that you use every day for your job. It's like, bro, I had to give a bit of a stern talk and going on there. It's like, are we serious?
Thank you for that, Chad, boy.
What
a shill! I love this.
I get paid by HLTV like to be a contractor and come out and do a fucking podcast. I don't have anything to do with the fucking website, right? I literally just do the podcast. I get nothing from you guys going to that website. But for me, it's like I've gone to this website every day of my life. It's not my homepage. It probably should be. It's like it's been the biggest resource. For me, it's unfathomable. Like I know I'm an old dog, so like. Looking at ads for me is like, oh, boomer ads. I don't know, man. It just for me, it's a no-brainer.
To get this back on track, I mean, in terms of freeze time, I'm actually okay with that just because it kind of provides a little bit of a lull between rounds and like you get to process a little bit. The replays help with, okay, the broadcast missed something. Just you cannot possibly catch all the kills, all that stuff. There's like ESL and I mean, just generally like basically all the broadcasts have gotten better a lot at spotting little things that happen in the game, just like a smoke that you missed or like little like details that you would never see during the actual match unless somebody sees it from behind the scenes and they replay it in the freeze time and all that stuff. I think the freeze time is a really good place to do all of that, and it's very useful for teams just to talk through like, okay, well, what are we going to do? All that stuff. That's what I wouldn't touch. Everything else just
I think the only problem is that we get so many saves and stuff that you get you can already have those replays
Right.
during the saves, you know? A
Right,
lot of the
Yeah,
time,
I
so.
know that there's one guy who does the replays.
Max.
His name Matt. Yeah, Max. Max is pretty good at knowing when to bring it in. But the things that become with this, and this is where it comes down to the TO to make sure they're hiring the right people. If your person is an EVS operator who also knows Counter-Strike, you're
changes
so
the
much
game.
better
Golden.
having an EVS operator that knows Counter-Strike than having an EVS operator that has to have someone sit next to him and say, that's a highlight. It's like, no, seriously, that's what happens sometimes.
That is
Yeah.
bad.
But that's the thing. You want people in your production to be like understanding the game at a decent level. You don't have to be high level by any means, but you need to know what a good like 3K looks like.
Of
And
course, yeah.
you need to know, hey, there's enough distance on the map that this guy is over here, and there's no way that these guys here will be able to hunt him in the time that I play this replay. Like those things can all be fine-tuned. It's like if we're talking about value of things and like trying to save space, I just need to go on the blower here, mate. Like some of our most undervalued members of the broadcast are good observers. Like I think observers get paid decent money, but considering that they take up 70% of what you watch on a Counter-Strike broadcast, maybe more, like they definitely don't get worth their salt. Like they should get paid more than like an audio guy or a camera guy. And I guarantee you that doesn't happen. Like the good observer, for me, a good observer makes my job easier. Like I can tell the story a million times better if I've got a good observer compared to a bad observer. And like, that's like, you know, even in a game that's slow, you can, anyway, we're going off topic here.
A little bit.
MR12.
Look, I was talking
we're
about
all, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about it earlier when we had the VoxPop live, right? So, and we had, I mean, just generally, I do want to see it tried for at least a good few months to see exactly how teams will, how much the economy is going to be impacted. I actually don't want the economy to be changed whatsoever now, because I want to see how it would work with the current economy, which is already kind of forgiving.
I only
You
have
don't
one tweak.
Don't get the hard resets. It's just impossible for you to not have a chance to come back in a reasonable time. You know, you have 12 rounds instead of 15. It's not that big of a difference, you know. Yes, it will make certain rounds a little bit more impactful. Pistols and the post-pistol economy is already like second round. If you plant the bomb as a T, you can buy up almost the same as the CTs, you know. And in terms of, you know, Ts have cheaper weaponry and all that stuff, that already helps you as well, you know. So from that perspective, I think that's already kind of taken care of. Of course, yeah. I mean, compared to now, it will make things a little bit more skewed or more balanced in terms of like favorites are not going to win on as often, probably, just because there will be times, you know, where those few key rounds that are important, you know, they don't go their way. They don't get the plant in a key round, you know, and suddenly that means a 2-round swing, 3-round swing, and that will just have a larger impact, you know, and down the line on a higher scale.
I just think there's a lot of factors though that go into like Counter-Strike as it's played today. Like in the early days of CSGO, when we got to talk to Valve in the early majors, one of the things that they made clear to us is they wanted more guns to be viable, right? So essentially that just helps you with a decision tree. Like I have this much money, I can buy this weapon, it's good in this type of a position. It's bad in this type of a position, but I could use it here in this way. And eventually that's what we've been exploring and trying to master, is different ways to use all of these things. So now lower buy rounds are much more viable in a game, right? We all know like how powerful a 5.7 is still, right? Like players are also so much better in how they use and react to certain things. Yeah. So maybe we don't have the pure version of Counter-Strike where we get as many full gun rounds. Maybe we don't have as many AWPs, like dupreeh was saying before. There will be things that change. And also like the thing with the smokes, and people are like, oh, but the meta's going to change. Like, well, I fucking hope the meta's going to change if smokes can get blown away with a grenade. Like that's all of your chance as players to try and
like the meta's going to change because there's no one-way smokes. So
yeah, so a lot of things are going to change
completely. Yeah.
Yeah. I just look at all of this stuff as people want to just keep going down the path they're going, and things are good, so I understand that. But it's also a chance for the creativity behind Counter-Strike to come through. That's got nothing to do with MR12. You do that in MR12 or 15. But I've had some people suggest this, and it's conversations I've had with other talent members while on the road. My thing would be the CT side. I would probably remove the 1,400 loss bonus. I don't know if I would then go a 5th stage loss bonus and give them more money after the 3,400. I don't know. Right. But I definitely would remove the 1,400 loss bonus from the CT side. And then when they lose pistol, they'd get 2,400. They don't have any extra incentive to get to plant a bomb and get more money in that round, right? So you'd want to give them a little bit of extra cash after that round to get the ball rolling immediately, or they could take the full eco. Then they get 2400 plus the
Yeah,
2900.
I mean,
and
when
they
it
can
goes down to
definitely buy.
12, that makes sense just because of, CTs just have, like, it's more expensive to buy weapons as a CT. So that's just a fact. So I understand that. I could see that that being good. Just because, like, at the moment, like, if you look at all the maps, things are pretty well balanced in terms of CT side. Like Ancient is one of the most balanced maps. Yeah, Overpass is kind of CT sided, but then Anubis is quite T sided. Overall, the entire map pool is pretty balanced in terms of that. So I feel like as long as we work towards, okay, some maps can be that, some maps can be the other way, but as long as overall it's not like CS 1.6 train nuke, where like it's 12-3 halves are completely normal, I think that's good.
I just want to make this clear to everybody because there's people out there who are blinded by the fact that things are constantly evolving and changing, and that's quite literally the game. Nothing is permanent, and if something is bad, it will change. Like,
yeah,
I tell you that as a fact. That's quite truly the truth.
We will, if this is the case and like CS2 has it, then we'll just see it in the beta being used and played
to get a sample set of data.
Get a vibe of it. Of course, pushing to pro is different. That's like I think we need to get a good feeling that it would make an improvement before that happens. But it's gonna happen gradually if it happens. So I don't think there's anything to be too concerned of now because we don't have anything to based on what to talk about. Like it's the same thing someone said in chat, like, oh, everyone was against MR12 before. Like we had the show about MR12 like in 2020, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It was a big podcast about like how the matches are too long and stuff like that. So we were talking about this, and this was like before Valorant came out and maybe around the same time. It's not a Valorant idea. It's been around. It's been used in CS before. It's
not to toot our own horn. We've been talking about some of these things that we continue to bring up, and even at the time, we probably said, and in years from now, we'll still be talking about these things. And funny that we are, and we will continuously be talking about these things because the game is not like a traditional sport. It's a video game. Things are able to be tweaked much easier.
I mean, even traditional sports change all the time.
Like, yeah, but don't worry about fucking normie sports, man. Fuck
football
the normies.
Is now have like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 substitutions. Used to be 3. Why is that thing? Because they play more games. Like
I don't know,
things
man.
change all the time.
There's just one Muppet here just yelling into the void. Like I would like to talk to Margrilla 69. First of all, discuss their age, and then second of all, discuss what's wrong. What are they so upset about? What is their fear here? Right? Because they're not communicating very well. They're just saying, well, I don't want it to change.
Like realistically, what are we losing, right? Like with the move to MR12 at this point, at least for argument's sake, like you might as well just try it out. You can try everything once, right?
Well, and this is the other thing. The competitive, he's right. The competitive, you should try oysters, you should dabble a little bit. The concept with everything that we're doing here, right? Like, as I said, nothing is permanent. Things might change. Like we don't know what's going to happen. And Valve also don't tailor to the competitive environment. And I imagine that they have data that tells them that the casuals might enjoy a shorter gaming experience.
I mean, did you see the comparison? I mean, somebody put it up on, that was like CSGO stats. I'm sorry that I'm not crediting them properly. Like the amount of games that are played for short match versus long match.
Yeah.
And it was like, what was it? Like 30, 70 maybe, something like that.
40% was short games.
Okay. Even 40%. So that's like, that is a pretty big indication that people would rather play shorter games at least.
Yeah, but I need to be clear.
But like a lot of people would rather play shorter games.
I want to be clear with that for a second. I saw a conversation about this on Reddit as well. When I play matchmaking, I play short matches because if I play short or long games, I'm versing. No offense to all of you global elites out there, but I'm playing dog shit opponents. I'm barely dropping rounds. The games aren't competitive.
When you're playing short games.
Or either, it doesn't matter. I play long or short. It doesn't matter. The bell curve of where I play Counter-Strike is in Face It. Right? If I want to play any level of Counter-Strike that is actually a little bit worth its salt, I'm not playing matchmaking. I'm not wasting my time. Why would I? I'm playing on 64 tick. My smoke lineups don't work. You don't get the same reward system. Obviously, some of those things have been noted to change going forward. So my contribution to that statistic is short matches. So I apologize. I want to put my hand up here. I want to say I'm really sorry that I skewed that statistic. I much prefer play MR15.
That's but it's still a decent indication that if you asked me before this, what's the ratio of like short to long? I would say like short is like 20%, but it's not. It's double of that. So even though obviously
it's almost
shorter,
half. So it's almost half the people, I'd say.
But time-wise, it's not half because shorter matches are shorter. And then there's also someone pulled it out. I don't know if it was Eliteify or also CSGO South. That's is just like how shorts versus long, and then in terms of like what rank people are, and the higher rank people are, people play more longer games, and like silvers and stuff like that. People that play like super casually play the shorts. So is that the reason to change or not? Like,
I mean, that seems to me like a reason to change, because you want more of the casuals to funnel into the big games, right? And all of that stuff. Like, you want to expand the audience basically, and that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also a thing that happened like when this was like 2014 or whatever, when we had before the 135.
We could just block banana the entire time with smokes, right?
Was it
145? 145.
145 and 35-second bomb time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and then they like found a middle ground and like said, okay, the majors are going to be played on this, and also matchmaking is going to be like this. So they shortened one, lengthened one to kind of merge the experience into the same thing. So that's kind of similar to what is happening here. I would say if like casuals want something shorter, then we're just going to make it. We're not going to make it short games, but maybe we can make it a bit shorter. Just
imagine if this was all a massive long fucking game from Valve, where they just put in, halfway through, like imagine, okay, long match is 15, short match is 8, and they're like, okay, so how many people will go so far that they really want a lot shorter games, and then suddenly they will go, whoop, this is the only thing that we will play now, exactly right down the middle.
But I think this is the thing that I think is the because the thing we haven't discussed with this MR12 or with some of the things that happened recently is like the ELO thing. You just see it was like the 3 different numbers on that sidebar, and I assume that's only from like the Premier queue where you veto and everything. But here's the factor with all this: the key. This is the key. This is why people play ES Portal. This is why people play Face It. This is why people play ESEA. Play all these things is because your trust in those things is higher. Right? You trust that when you're playing on Face It, your chance of running into cheaters is lower than when you play matchmaking. And some people have matchmaking experiences, they run into no cheaters. Some people play matchmaking experiences, they run into a lot of cheaters. Everybody's experience is different. But the reason matchmaking cannot be taken seriously at the moment is 2 key factors: 64 tick and the fact that you can run into cheaters more often than not, right? Like that is going to happen. There is a lot of room for that. Now, if Valve make their anti-cheat better, which is VAC, Valve anti-cheat, if they make it better for CS2, then maybe we can have some more faith in the process. But it needs to be better. Like, we can't blatantly be in games with cheaters all the time. And I don't know anything about Valorant and their cheating problems, but people will go, well, why don't they just make something like Valorant has? It's quite clear to me that Valve doesn't want to put something with kernel level access onto your fucking computer. They've never wanted to do that. I don't know why they would want to change that now. Did they do that with any of their games? I have no idea. I only worry about Counter-Strike.
I don't know.
But the thing is, the anti-cheat that people would want to make sure that their matchmaking experience is great, unless AI is fucking amazing. If AI is amazing and they've trained an AI to deal with cheaters, then maybe we're off to the races. But again, I'm talking out of my ass. I would need someone with much better understanding of this stuff than me. I'm just a fucking goofball who plays the game.
That's also your job, talking out of your ass. So
yeah, but like, these are the kind of things that I feel I've learned over the years. So yeah, we have to wait and see with all of this. I'm excited. I don't know when it's going to come. Everyone keeps asking when it's going to come. No one knows.
What I'm curious about is if they will just all drop this all at the same time, and also how much does their whole plan to transition, into a non-partnership thing, moving from 2025 have anything to do with this? And in terms of their standards for events, like obviously they're talking about these standards that they want to upkeep.
They don't even know what they are
2025.
yet,
That's the point. But I'm thinking about how much does this potentially coincide in terms of what they will force onto big events. Like, let's say until then, we're probably going to stay with MR5, but, from 2025, apart from maybe the majors, maybe the majors will just get forced into MR12.
That's a good point.
The other tournament organizers so far, they can stay on MR15. I don't imagine that they would.
You just
I don't
change
imagine
command.
that they would, because, yeah, of course. I mean, this is just like literally everybody can do it. It doesn't matter even. But I don't imagine that tournament organizers would go along with that. They would just go MR12 just because, okay, the majors are like this. We want our teams to be used to the same thing everywhere, right?
Yeah, and that is the issue that we have had in the old school eras of Counter-Strike. Before there were Valve-sanctioned events, tournaments would run different formats. They would run different maps. They would run different rule sets.
Right.
And there was more room for flexibility back in the day than there is today, because if you do not copy what Valve does, you're essentially bucking the trend and you're eliminating yourself from the top teams' line of sight.
Yeah.
Why would I play this event? It has nothing in my pursuit of the major. The only way to do that is to incentivize them with a lot of prize money. And then if they still don't think it's going to benefit them and their professional career going forward, then they're not going to take it seriously anyway. So like having show matches or having those type of things, we're not going to get the data we're looking for. We need people competing in these formats as if they're competing for the major trophy to actually learn how far we can push things. And that's the entire point of what we do. So the only way we can get is by trying and learning and seeing what happens. And I don't think we should be scared of change. I think we should question change. And I think change for the sake of change is bad. But I think we should be open-minded to what potentially comes our way. These people are infinitely smarter than any of us watching this right now. I would put my fucking money on it, and they've got more data than any of us could ever fucking possibly pass. So let's have a little bit of faith, because the game is what it is, because these people have been able to steer us in the right direction with obviously the community's input and everything like that.
I think it's also kind of funny just because obviously Valve are good at making business, and making business means getting more people to watch their game, to play their game. And if more people watch their game, play their game, we have more money in esports as well. And that means better things for everybody, right? So I would say the one thing that Valve are good at is making money, and that helps everybody.
I love how people question if Valve are going to make right choices, and do they have the right data? It's like,
man,
you think we got here with we have unequivocal proof.
That's the point. Like, have they really made massive missteps? Like, of course,
someone referenced the R8, but yeah, whatever.
I was gonna say, of course, there have been some updates that were just like overshooting, but they were fixed fairly quickly. Sometimes, okay, they took a long time to fix them, but maybe they were working on something else. I can understand that. There are some excuses, let's say, but never have we had anything like egregious stay in the game for long periods of time.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan when they changed it from hard resets to the pendulum swing of the economy, but it turned out I was. Well, they had to adjust the pistol round stuff after that, but they've always made changes.
The other way around, by the way. I think it was first the post pistol economy, and then the slider. I think at least I recently looked into like the dates, and I think it was like 2020 was the.
They did the pistol before they changed it to the pendulum.
Late 2018 was when they did the pistols, and then early 2019, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months later was the slider.
Either way,
it doesn't matter. I'm just being pedantic at this point.
Should we slide on to a different topic, gentlemen? Do we want to talk any more about this? All right, VP. We're going to talk about them and their performance in Gamers 8 very shortly. Well, I guess we can talk about it now. It kind of overlaps. Yeah. Norbert was with them in Riyadh, but Kicker was still playing. As we knew from some time ago, which kind of I remember the news and I remember us talking about it, but I'm going to be honest. I don't really believe what VP's, not the players, but the org. I don't believe what the org say as far as I could throw him after the whole Chiron situation. It's not that I didn't think that Norbert had actually hurt himself or whatever, but I'm kind of sitting there going, yeah, but are they actually going to keep him? I wasn't fully sold on what story they gave us. But yeah, Kicker, he reached out to you guys, right, to give a bit of a comment regarding the situation.
Basically just confirming what he kind of put out on Twitter. It just wasn't necessarily super clear, so we got in touch and he basically confirmed, okay, I'm out of the starting 5 at this point, looking for other opportunities, as we already heard before that.
I've got it here. I decided to leave after the failure in the Paris Major, but it took a bit longer because they couldn't find a 5th for a really long time, and then Norb broke his hand. Kicker, who is now looking for a new team while under contract with VP, told HLTV. So yeah, Norbert, who had the injury, good to hear that he's feeling better and can get back in the server, but he'll be joining James Flit and Fame, who he won the major with, and obviously the recent addition of Mia, who over there in Riyadh was actually playing pretty good. I thought, he had some good moments. What do we make of this? I don't want to call it a mess. Let's call it a situation, shall we, Prof?
Situation. Okay. That's a good word. I agree that they looked pretty well. It's just like VP, as always. Like when you bring him to a decent tournament, put him against a good team, they're never just gonna roll over and get stomped. It just doesn't happen. So upsetting FaZe, that was the only upset that we had in the first round, or practically only big upset. Everything else was
Gamer Legion one, I guess, was up for debate, right? Gamer Legion Apex.
That was 50-50.
I think honestly, if you look at the results, Gamer Legion had to be the favorites. They were on the brink of.
I think they were by the bookmakers too, weren't they?
No, they weren't.
They weren't.
Apex were for some reason, but okay. I don't think that's really. I don't know why that happened. Doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was pretty much 50-50, or at least close to it, right?
But essentially, VP looked pretty decent, and I don't think like replacing Kicker for Norbert is going to make any big, huge difference on this team. Just hoping to see them a bit more and then make any sort of judgment. But it's Jame, it's fucking Mir now, Fame and Flit. Like this is a pretty sick lineup. Like they've been completely under the radar because all of the shit that happened, missing the major, and then after that they don't have like any
They kind of
slots.
sidelined themselves temporarily.
Yeah,
They had to work back
also,
up.
They skipped Rio before the major, because they were at the RMR, they fucked up. Then they skipped Rio to figure out the lineup, and then they only figured out the lineup now, like 4 months later. So they've been completely off the radar. But I believe in Jame, like, and these players to be like top 15 for sure. So
there is versatility to their game, right? Like I understand that the brushes, they mainly play like this slow percentage base game, and they're going to save a lot, and that's what makes them dangerous. Is there's always an AWP. Even in some of the games we casted, I'm talking at one point, Kickett's got 5K. He could drop an AWP for Jame, and the rest could, and they still do those type of moves, which is synonymous with VP. But one of the things as well, like especially in that G2 game on Mirage, I think that's maybe a good example to show the versatility of this team. G2, for the life of them, thought they were going to play off mid, thought they were going to give them all the room. They were going to establish mid control and be able to get away with whatever players they want. In that game, they were constantly fighting for mid. And then after they'd have those initial scuffles, they'd give up mid. And Nico and Hunter, if they're still alive, are searching for players in window and vent room late round, and they're nowhere to fucking near it. They're just dealing with the extremities. So I think like, and G2 a team who game plans pretty hard, right? Hooksy puts a lot of time into how he wants to approach teams. So I think VP, they're a fun mind game team. Like that's the thing, that you're going into mental warfare against Jame. Like he's got players who can frag. They can. They're all, there's that trio. Jame, Flit, and Fame.
Mir's ceiling is obviously much higher than either one of Norbert's or Kickert's. Question is how long that's going to stay that way. Obviously, like he's 27, maybe he's on the way down, but for now he's obviously got that ceiling still. Even in that G2 game, he was a massive. Throughout the rest of the tournament, he didn't have some big, massive games other than that, but he was stable. That's the important part, and he had those peaks. A couple of maps. So obviously this lineup is better than it was before. And that's, they've even not been doing that badly online. I think that was a little bit overestimated when people were talking about Virtus Pro coming into this tournament. It was a little bit up and down. They had that loss to like Thunder Flash, like a completely random team.
People really like cherry picked that one loss out of
I
everything.
really didn't like that either. Like it's just like they painted Virtus Pro as this team that like should not be competitive, almost like based on their online results. But like looking at them, considering the shit show they've been doing fucking well. Like apart from literally the last 2 out of 3 results, that they had leading into the tournament.
That's the thing. Like they lost to Thunder Flash 12th of August, and Gamers 8 was 17th of August. But before that, they
won the online finals.
CCT online finals, beating Spirit, Aurora, OG,
Challenger.
Apex, right?
It's a Challenger event.
Yeah, that was before the break.
And before Mia.
Yeah. So, but this is the CCT online thing. Was like, okay, they beat all of these tier 2 teams. They won the tournament. Of course, they lost some games, but like you're gonna lose games if you play a lot of games. You're gonna lose some games, and this is like an online qualifier. So they're playing the games before they got to the HLT phase of this. So they won like 5 games and then lost the 6. It's like, oh, they lost to Thunder Flash. Oh my god, it's a fucking best of 1. If FaZe loses to Thunder Flash online in the best of 1 after 6 games, no one's like, oh, it was the online best of 1. It doesn't matter. So fuck that. It's just a bit silly.
I think the people didn't really do a good job selling the actual form of Virtus Pro, and that's why the FaZe match was a little bit closer to 50-50 than people would have expected, especially considering FaZe's form in Cologne. Obviously, I didn't expect FaZe to lose anyway, just because like FaZe don't generally fluke out twice.
They start tournaments well.
They don't flunk out twice, first of all, and they usually start tournaments well, yes. At least in terms of the first couple of games, they're maybe not the best at closing all the time, but they usually start well. So from that perspective, I just still thought that they would win. And obviously they were still fucking close to winning anyway, So it's not like they didn't have a chance.
There's some intense series there.
It's more like that VP dropped the fucking ball against G2. That was a game that they were never supposed to lose, to be honest.
They should have won that. The bye's late. I think Fame.
Yeah.
I think Fame misbought. I think and then in the timeout, everybody else bought up, and then they had 3, 4 force buy rounds in a row to close the game.
I don't even have a problem with that necessarily, but it was the Vertigo game, the Vertigo game that they had 10-5 on, and it's just like it wasn't even about the buys and their like relentless forcing, but it was more about the decisions they were making. They looked confused so many times. Like they late round, they just gave up. Like there was this round I remember, like where Norbert, I think not Norbert, Kickert, I think, was pushing into like B ramp when it was like a 5v4, and G2 are literally about to make a G2 round where they stop and they have no idea what they're supposed to do because they're behind smokes. They cannot move, they cannot turn back because there's not enough time. Just literally a round where 4v5 G2 probably has to save their guns, or they run into the site against a disadvantage, just like they're probably going to get destroyed if they run into the site. Somebody from the B side just decides to push. I think it was Kickert into the ramp. He took a fight over like the little ledge that people boost on.
I think that was Fame. He jumped. They were setting up ready for a B execute, and he jumped, and Monacy orbed him. But I'm almost positive it was Fame.
Yeah. That was exactly the round that I'm talking about, like the Monacy one, the Monacy kill. I remember from that. But like that was a round that VP should never have lost.
Yeah, they had no need to peek, but he played for info. If he just waited, he probably gets 2. Yeah,
it was like 30 seconds left in the round. Like it was so clearly, even like from G2's movement, that they did not know what to do. Like if they didn't get that opportunity, that round probably never would have gone their way.
The Hunter had to get that lucky like double kill where James lined up running into the site to get, and that was back when they were on a brutal buy. Like the economy played such a huge factor in the end of that game. And I think the thing is with that Fame, I'm not going to put it all on him, right? Shit happens. It's a pressure moment.
I mean, it's one round, right? But
if he missed not the jump, if he misbought that MP9, which everybody else hadn't bought, he bought, then they took a timeout, and then the rest of the rounds they just kept buying. They could have sold him. He's a B player. Like they could have gone, okay, bro, you fucked up. You bought an MP9.
Right.
Just see if you can get a kill. If not, try and save a gun. We'll eco. We'll get a better buy. And then we'll see how we go moving forward. But instead, they all force bought behind it, which kind of just the dominoes fell over. It triggered this trap card that was like, well, we're keeping the rounds close. We know that we can still break their economy. We're still in this point of the game. It's either you win a round and you fuck their economy and the force buy wars don't end and the game ends just brawly as fuck. And maybe you get out on top of the economy, or you lose it, and it's the way it goes. You live by the sword, die by the sword. They just had to keep going in that fashion. They left themselves no other choice.
I mean, it just definitely felt like pressure situation that got to them, and then G2 are the team that does have the individuals, to punish some of these mistakes. So obviously, they should have been in the semis, like
they could have been for sure.
That's suddenly that's like a super good result. It's not just one upset that they made against FaZe.
I still think with the Norbert caveat, it's still a good result. Like now he's going to come in. Okay, well this is the roster they want. Guess it should be better, right?
Yeah, I mean the good thing is that Kickert actually had a pretty decent event overall. It's not like he was massive, but just like pretty stable. He didn't have any big. Yeah, even in the FaZe game, he had a couple of big rounds, and so I'm curious about if Norbert should be able to at least match that sort of a level. And I agree with you that it's not going to make much of a difference, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into flusha situation. Flusha retired. What?
Saying flusha situation just sounds...
situation.
I'm clicking around and look, flusha retiring. So as we know, flusha, we were just talking to a legend of the game. We had dupreeh on, but another, especially in the early days of CSGO, flusha 3-time major winner, right? Of the legendary Fnatic rosters that came together. The first one was with Schneider and Devilwalk. Obviously had Pronax and JW.
Flusha here
on the show?
I feel like we must have had him a really long time ago now.
We had him like in the online times, like 2020.
Okay.
There was a show with flusha.
I was just thinking about like the whole like slideshow that we did with dupreeh. That would be amazing to do with flusha.
I think he was one of those that were not really the most talkative guys.
Right. I mean, he's not, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, if you get him in real life, in the right environment, he is definitely a guy to talk to, but he's not really a super lengthy conversation on a podcast kind of guy.
Early January 2nd, 2021 is when we had him on the show. So
it's not that long ago.
We did a show on the 2nd of January.
Was it maybe just released on the 2nd of January and we did like...
Oh, okay. February. Never mind. 2nd of February.
No, it's 1-2. So 1st of February. It's weird.
Either way. Sometime early in 2021. But yeah, so flusha, he did a bit of a statement. I guess he doesn't really know what his future holds. He's still going to be hanging around. But he was a part of this Eyeballers project alongside a JW. Obviously, they were having some of the younger Swedish talent in their team. Sweden still trying to recover, like Pepsor and Shine. To replace him, they added Heap. He played for Dignitas for a bit, didn't he? If I remember rightly. But yeah, so flusha at the ripe age of 30, which is what we were just talking to dupreeh about, has decided to hang it up, saying, I guess the long and the short of what I took from it was he wasn't enjoying himself. And that was one of the things dupreeh touched on as well, right? That's why one of the reasons he said he left Astralis, he wasn't enjoying the game again. So you can understand why people, depart. But I guess the last couple of years for flusha, unfortunately, haven't been at the highest of highs. There was always rumors about him potentially going to FaZe as an in-game leader. You wonder what could have been if he had taken that a couple of years ago. But yeah, so we say goodbye to Senor Vac, King of the Mouse Lift. And yeah, and anything we want to say about flusha?
One of the most legendary and iconic players of CSGO, especially the first half, I would say, of CSGO, where he was, that Fnatic team was fucking insane. And they were not as maybe consistently and long the longevity of Astralis, but they had a similar air around them.
Influence as well.
In terms of, the influence of their style and just how they felt so fucking unstoppable. And like, it just felt whatever you tried to do, they would just like bullshit their way, win a force buy. And there's a lot of force buying back then. That's kind of, I would say their legacy is like the JWCZ and the Tech9 Hofmeister. Like, that's what I remember that kind of time for.
Some of the original villains as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
nobody liked them at that time.
I don't even mean because of like the cheating accusations. I just mean like in the early days they weren't NIP, so people were just like, "Well, fuck you. You're not NIP. We only like
it's
NIP."
It's kind of like heroic. It felt a lot like heroic in Denmark, like during Astralis times, essentially. Basically that's what Fnatic was to NIP in the early days of CSGO. Even when same way it is now, right? Heroic obviously have long overpowered Astralis as the dominant force in Denmark. Maybe that's changing now. We will see, right? But for the last couple of years, at least, that's been the case. And that was the case kind of like 2015, 16 of Fnatic.
Yeah,
14, 15 more like.
Shout out to flusha. I got the opportunity to play Counter-Strike with them and got to talk to them in quite early on days, late 2013, 2014. We got to meet Fnatic at the MSI Beta event, and they were nicer to us than all the other teams. And we ended up hanging out with them in a place in Stockholm and getting to talk to like those guys. I remember talking to Pronax and Devilwalk and flusha and everybody and kind of learning about the way they used to look at the game. And that was back when they'd won the major. So
what I saw something on, I don't know if it was HLTV forums. It sounds like something from HLTV forums. It might have been on Twitter, but somebody said like if flusha didn't exist, then Liquid would have had a major win.
Oh,
I don't know if you could backtrack what that means exactly, but because of flusha donated some money to the Fallen's team before the 2014, right? Or was it 2015? 2015 Katowice qualifiers or Cologne qualifiers. I don't remember which one, but he donated some money for them to go over to Europe to be able to play those and practice before those. So like the idea is that SK stopped Liquid in the final of Cologne 2016, right? And that wouldn't have happened if flusha didn't donate some money to Fallen, possibly.
North American hater flusha, it confirmed right here on the show. All right, should we jump into Skinionaire? We're gonna do that, and then we'll talk a bit about Gamers 8, and then I guess we're done. All right, Lucas, you ready with Skinionaire? Yeah, Chad, I'm ready. Who's doing it? Is it me? Is it Striker?
Who wants to do it?
We can combine. I don't know.
We'll combine our powers. All right, Prof, what's the theme this week?
I don't know, bro. It's just questions that I managed to come up with. This is becoming one of the
more difficult for you.
Hardest parts of the show. I'm not even joking. I need to get an assistant for the questions.
Well, just ask ChatGPT to make questions.
Yeah, I'm sure everything's gonna be wrong.
But that'd be great. See that could be a fun one for 1 week. This is what ChatGPT says we should do.
Our designer Yepes sent me something. It's like, we can find some like fun facts from the major because we have the major page, and he sent me a list of things. And it's like, this is the only 16-0 that happened at major. He's like, is this correct? I'm like, no, this never happened. This match never happened. This was I have no idea where it is, and it's not the only 16-0. There's like two or three of them, 2 by Astralis, I think, and there is another one recently. So it's like it's just wrong. It's
So
just
the
wrong.
database needs some work. It needs
Yeah.
some fine tuning. All right. Well, everyone knows what to do. We're going to do Who Wants to Be a Skin? You know, you got to type Bitskin. Sorry, you don't have to type Bitskins in chat. Or you got to try trade it. You got to
It's
try
been years.
trade a
It's been
GG in the
years.
chat.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, look, some people were typing Bitskins, which caught me off guard. But we're going with trade a GG, or just trade it. Which one is it, Lucas? Just trade it. No GG. Just trade it. No GG. We're going to have a good game, but I want you to type trade it. Everyone spam it now. I want everybody right now to
If
spam it
anyone's-
so many times.
whoever-
Don't stop.
Whoever writes a different skin
Skin
site gets
company
banned.
loses all privileges. Or you no longer your HLTV premium
There's
will
that-
be removed. Keep spamming it.
There's that new feature apparently that Twitch is working on that's going to allow banned people to not be able to watch the stream. You know, that's what's going to happen to everybody.
Oh no. We don't. We'll get Jonathan E on you. He will critique your account and all of your forum posts. He will do an audit, and we don't want you to. So there we go. I've been brainwashed now. It's worked
Saint Peter
perfectly.
at the gates of heaven. It was like on January 21st of 2023, you wrote this comment. Chad, bald.
Yep.
Not
Someone,
going to heaven.
someone mentioned my hair transplant before. It's a good one. All right, trade it. Let's go. Who wants to be a Skinionaire? Brought to you by tradeit.gg. Question number 1. With CS_Italy being remade for CS2, which one of the following is an Italian player? Cold Zero, Nevera, Chimera.
I mean, look, it has to be.
Why isn't
Chimera,
it
just
Nelex 500, Prof? If you're going to keep up with the fucking forum law, get Nelex on here. What do you mean, who?
What?
Don't you fucking start with me, mate. Everyone in chat knows Nelex. Watch him start Nelex 500. Or is it 5,000? People in chat, back me up.
I don't know what he's talking about either.
Come on, guys in chat, back me up, man.
No, it's
Back
back
me
you.
up.
Is this the guy who was hating you or something? What happened?
Yeah, I think so. I think he does hate me.
I
No,
remember
it's
this
not.
nickname from somewhere, but
No, it's not. There was another guy. That was
Some people gotta know, man. That was
can we find out? Obviously, this is right.
that was an Aussie bloke. But anyway, there's a lot of guys that don't like me on the internet. That's fine. All right, let's go. Question number 2. Which one of these leaderboards does ZywOo top 2023 big events? ADR, AWP, KPR, opening kills per round.
Well, it's not op.
Why do I think it's ADR?
It cannot be op. I don't think it's ADR.
No, it must be opening
I would
kills
say
per round, right?
opening kills per round. I would imagine.
Yeah, we're gonna lock that one in. Rob's got a big smile on his face. Are we gonna lock that one in?
I was reading chat.
Generally, oppers. I know ZywOo doesn't op so much, but generally oppers don't have the highest ADR. So just by logically, and I know it's not a op KPR just because ZywOo doesn't op that much.
Well, I've locked in
Let's see.
C. Correct answer
I
is
think it's got to be that.
D. Nice. We've done it. We've nailed it. Okay. Question number 3. For tradeit.gg, who wants to be a Skinionaire? Do that. Norbert returned to VP's lineup again. Which team did he join VP from? K23, Germany, or Poland?
What? What is that?
Well, the correct answer is K23.
I think somebody fucked up the options. I would say somebody fucked up the options.
Well, I think we know the answer to this one.
Well, it's not.
I would have known K23 anyway immediately, but
It has to be K23.
Yeah.
What were the original options, Prof?
I don't know. It was like Spirit and Fours or something, or Hellraisers. I don't know.
So I imagine the next question is going to have something to do with
Countries.
countries.
No,
Let's
I think
find
this is
out.
from last week. This is
Oh,
from last
okay,
week.
okay.
okay.
Well, let's hope that these are a little bit closer. Question number 4.
Just,
No.
move the
Well, what
slide.
are we meant to do,
Finish.
Lucas, man?
I can't. It's fucked up.
I can tell you. I can read you the
It's fine.
questions.
All right, read it, read it,
No,
read it.
us the rest
give
of
me
it.
10 seconds.
10 seconds. 9,
But-
8, 7. Someone find
Give me
Nelex's
10.
Faceit account and link it. Where
Oh,
is
that's the
Italian?
guy. Okay.
Did someone link it? I'm Googling him now. He was on the journey. I think he was trying to get level 10 on Faceit, the poor guy, and people on HLTV were giving him shit. It's not easy to get level 10, guys. Don't give him fucking...
Wait, is he in the forums? I'll find them.
What do you
Have
mean? He's permanent. I think he got 10 years. I think Johnny E 10 yeared him. You don't
Yes.
keep up with the law
Alright,
anymore.
we
Bob.
have-
What's happened
there
to
we
you?
go.
I was
Sports
sick.
mode
I was
user.
All right,
sick,
we
bro.
got
I
a
was sick, bro.
question. We got a question. So Flusha won 3 majors, but where did he get his major MVP? Sweden, Germany, or Poland? JW got the Swedish one, right? JW got
the first one.
the MVP from the first one. Olaf got the one from Cologne, right?
Then it has to
So
be
it
Poland.
must be Poland. I think it's Poland, yeah. Olaf got
Fucking-
the one from Cologne. That's the Tech 9 fucking tournament.
Fucking in C, Poland. Correct answer is Germany.
Was it in
Prof?
Cologne, really?
Confirmed deny.
This is true. He is
Okay.
Katowice. Cologne 2015 MVP.
Well, I'm going to put that one all on Striker.
right.
Nice try, Striker. He gave it a good go. You know, it's not us winning the skins, so it's okay. It's fine for us to. Wait, where is he? Is he? I hope Nelix makes it here one day, man. Okay. Fifth and final question. Hopefully this one's right. Who of the following is over 33 years old and has played 250 maps in 2023? Taz, Snappy, or BTN?
There's no way Snappy played that much. And he's not over 33 years. He is 33 years.
33 or
33 or over, okay. But I don't think there's no way Snappy played 250 maps.
Who does
this
BTN
year.
play for? What country is he from?
Nexus.
They play online only. Has to be him. How could it not be?
I think it must be him because Nexus play a lot and Taz hasn't played a bunch recently, so it's got to be him, right? It's got to be BTN. Snappy hasn't played that much. Otherwise, I would have said him, but that's Snappy. There's no way he has 250 maps.
Looking in C, BTN. Correct answer is C, BTN. 4 out of 5. Not bad here. Round of applause for everybody involved. Prof for writing the question. Strike and I for laboring through it. Lucas for fucking it up and fixing it in the same moment. And me, who wants to repeat. TradeIt.gg brought Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire to you on your doorstep. And we have a winner of our skin. And it is going to be Just Fish. Sounds like justice, but Just Fish. Our people will reach out to your people you've been following since 2021. Thank you for being with the show, and we look to get over to you. So that is brought to you by Trade It. All right, wonderful. We're done with that segment of the show. Let's move forward, and I guess we're going to round things up. Yes,
I found Alex.
You found him? Is he banned? Is he permed?
He is 10-yeared.
Yeah, I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did to get 10-yeared.
According to him, he wrote +1, and he has a full story on his profile, which is like this is longer than a Lucas article of copy pastes of his transcriptions with Jonathan E. So
he's got the transcripts with Johnny E.
He's got the receipts. He got the receipts.
I actually misremembered. Katowice is the fucking Tech 9 tournament. I thought it was Cologne.
I
was right. I was on track with the logic, just the wrong tournament.
Yeah, I should have been there to proofread you, but at that point, I don't know, I couldn't tell you.
I was sure it was Cologne, but yeah.
You gave it your best. Okay. We're going to be talking about Gamers 8. Vitality ended up winning. They beat ENCE in the final. Where do we want to start with this? You guys were watching from home, I assume.
Yeah.
So how was there was a lot of technical issues. Don't dance around that one. That
overall, I wouldn't say that was that terrible, but obviously a lot of matches had some sort of in the final is the bad one, yeah, for sure. That was like an hour-long one. The rest seemed like, I don't know, it didn't seem like it took too long to resolve most of them.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was worse than an average tournament.
ESL tournament. It was an ESL tournament. It looked like an ESL tournament. It had some interesting content that got deleted, unfortunately, with the maps.
The geography.
Yeah, it's not on Twitter anymore. So pretty sure someone was upset.
There was some stuff with that content. Like, for example, one of the things was recall the round, and they're showing teams that don't play nuke. And I'm like, what? We're just making everybody look foolish here. And then I had to do a music kit thing with Hobbit and Perfecto. And I'm like, there's no way Hobbit even uses a music kit. The first question I'm asking was nah, I don't use a music kit. And I was like, yeah, me either, bro. I've got it on. I don't know what it sounds like. Maybe the 10-second music, that's about it. So I had to, and that was okay, well, they're misses. We can fix them in the future, though. They're easy to fix in the future, just a little bit more hands-on from the contributors, aka me and my colleagues. But that's all right. We isolated that one. That won't be a problem next time. But yeah, the finals delay, I was in the audience watching, and I was like, well, fuck this. I'm getting up for food. I was like, I'm around here. I don't know how long this shit's going to take.
Yeah.
So that one kind of stung a little bit. Some of the matches, obviously, local time were finishing quite late. That was... Yeah, that was not great.
I don't know why they started so late.
I don't know. I think... I couldn't actually answer you a reason, but I can tell you it was fucking 46, 47 degrees there every day. So maybe they wanted to start later in the afternoon. I genuinely don't have an answer. I couldn't give you, I didn't ask the question. So that one I can't help out with. But all in all, the single limb, the tournament, you're going like this, you're just going up, right? There's no plateauing. There's no matches that don't really, every match meant something. Every match had stakes. The only thing that I wish they would have done would have just make winner take all, just $1 million first prize, bang,
actually.
Just make it a full battle for just the top prize.
People complain about single elim, but like the top 4 teams were top 4.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah,
whatever that means.
All right. So you guys seem to have done it. Seem to have that many gripes.
No, I mean it was. I think it was a decent tournament in terms of like watching experience, and also from kind of like the story arc. It was pretty easy. I mean, the fact that we didn't have any upsets, I think that was almost to a detriment in this sort of a format. Like I kind of expected something bigger to happen. FaZe is exactly the match that like it was the most obvious one where somebody would get upset, right? So and that's the one that happened. I think if the VP one had happened, obviously that would have made things more exciting. But at the same time, like having top 4 teams in the playoffs, we got a really nice game between G2 and Vitality.
Yep.
The other side, not so much. I would say Heroic kind of dropped the ball. I mean, ENCE just went 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 until the final, and then they kind of dropped the ball. But generally, I liked the tournament. I liked the stories as well. I think like there were a couple of things that had they gone a different way, we would have had a completely different final. For example, G2 against Vitality, same thing. Like G2 should have lost to Virtus Pro, and then they should have beaten Vitality. Like that was 15-12 on Mirage, right? That they dropped, and there was like that Hooksy 1v1. I think he's gonna hate himself for that one for a long time, because I think he kind of dropped the ball and he knows it. And
yeah, well, that game, if we're gonna get into the minutia of that game, right? Like here's my synopsis of that. Justin doing nothing, right? Like he was basically a non-issue, and then
it was Hunter and Nico just doing everything, right?
Yeah, but here's how I view this, and I don't blame Hunter and Nico for this at all, right? I don't blame them for this at all. So my view of this is those two are running rampant in the game. They're getting away with crazy plays. They're taking space. When the chips are down, they're making bullshit happen. Monacy missing the broadside of a barn. He's not hitting anything, right? He wasn't hitting anything. Justin wasn't doing anything, and Hooksy had a little bit of impact. He even was starting to peel in for some entries because he was making space connector. That clutch is probably what a lot of people remember. But let's keep in mind, 2 people not really contributing an awful lot in that. Nico and Hunter going, we got to fuck. I imagine at that point they're thinking, fuck boys, we got to do it all, which then led them later into the game making mistakes that they wouldn't normally make, because I think that they thought they had to win it on their own. For example, like taking risks, like jumping into window for Hunter in some of the later rounds when, he knows he's going to get caught. He's just hoping, like everything else has worked for him in the game. Fuck, this is going to work too. When realistically in isolation, that's not a good move. But I understand why he's doing it, because he thinks that the only way they're going to get through at this moment without these other guys performing is through him taking those chances. Same as Nico. Like you saw another one. He was in market and he pushed out. And he almost got the double, but only got 1 and was traded. Like there were so many moments that they could have had there. And then Vitality as a team came online. And then they started winning. Like obviously ZywOo happened late. They bought enough time for him to activate on Mirage, but they were winning like more as a team, whereas it started to feel a bit more individual and desperate for G2. Right. But I didn't think G2 were going to go far in the tournament anyway. So I was surprised.
Why not?
I just think that the team is like a yo-yo of ups and downs, just in classic G2 fashion. Like I didn't expect an awful lot out of them.
What I didn't expect was to Monacy to drop off like this, because in Cologne he was basically in MVP form. Like between him and Nico, almost nothing separated them, and then he goes into Gamers 8 and has some stinkers. Just like it's not like he played terrible overall, but just like it wasn't the Monacy that we saw the previous tournaments. So like
I forget how young he is as well. Like I'm not saying that's an excuse.
It will happen for him, especially because of his play style. Sometimes he just goes for plays that are not conventional, and if you're not 100% on top of your game, you're just going to miss that shot. You're going to put yourself. It's like Simple. If Simple isn't mega skilled, he will not get away with those the plays that he used to make, right? And he doesn't now because he just doesn't hit the same shots that he used to. And the same thing with Monacy. Like he's obviously incredibly skilled, but he does put himself in risky positions a lot.
I think he needs to work out what his B, C, D, and E games are.
Right.
We know what his A game looks like. I would just like to know what Monacy's game looks like when he's not getting away with the classic bullshit, which he's known for, right? And that's a part of his development as a player that's going to need to come through. How can he find contributions as an AWPer or as a teammate when he's not hitting his shots? And how can he put him in a position where he might not need to get the opening, but he needs to get one? Like and I think that's probably the next evolution for him. And he is, as mentioned, very young, and I expect that growth to happen with him. But I think that's, one of the keys is in his development coming up next. And I'd be excited to see how that unfolds, because he's an eager kid. So, I other than that, I think I wouldn't say they performed past my expectations. but I would say it's probably par for the course for what you can expect from this team.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean they were like in all the games they played were close. Like they could have realistically lost to 9 as well.
Yeah. Well, that was another series where, you know, Yanko's saying now, like, if 9 are playing and Ancient and Vertigo could be in the map pool, just skip the 2 and play the fucking third. Just play the best of 1, but because it's kind of feeling like that here with 9.
I didn't think that G2 would win, to be honest, on Vertigo. I don't know why I had that feeling, but obviously not because of the 6-0, but just before the game. It was just too long for 9 to keep that streak.
That always happens to them, right? They just don't have the experience to close, or it gets so late and they're looking good and they fall apart.
Yeah, and same way I actually thought 9 would then win Ancient, just because it's like not the best map
Not
for
typical.
G2 generally, and just like that one of those like punish picks from G2 that are kind of weak, and I don't like when G2 do that. It's like that Vertigo lost to Fnatic in the major. I think that was the major, right, that eliminated them. Like that was kind of the same feeling I got, you know, that they just like go for a punish pick that isn't really a strong map for them. So I thought 9 would beat them on Ancient, like they would lose, they would end the streak. They even started off well. It was like 6-0 there as well.
I'd just fly through a couple of these names here before we dig into some of the bigger ones, like Falcon putting up a bit of a fight against Heroic. I thought that was pretty good. Like I thought that was like good to see them out the gate. And then playing some like I don't give a fuck who you are Counter-Strike as well, like still just letting like Boros aim and like playing like that felt pretty nice to watch. Cloud9 seemed like turns out Prof was right. We do need to give them some time. They're very green in a lot of their decision making or the structure of their team. Like they got made to look silly by ENCE. It was 16-6, 16-7. They got fucking blown out. Like
destroyed. Yeah.
Just like ENCE were in great form. Like they 2-0'd Liquid, they 2-0'd ENCE, they 2-0'd Heroic. It was like wow. And then I really enjoyed the interview. Well, I enjoyed's the wrong word. I really respect Snappy's interview at the end. Snappy's got to be one of my favorite characters.
After the final?
Yeah, he's got to be one of my favorite characters to listen to now because he wears his heart on his sleeve and he's open and honest about the way he feels. And I think he articulates it very well. I think he does a very admirable job of the way that he talks about himself and the way that he's feeling and stuff. And I think it's a massive boon for our community because like listening to him saying like in Cologne when they lost, he felt like G2 was the better team, but he didn't feel that against Vitality, which obviously they won, so they are the better team. He even acknowledged that in the interview, but essentially saying that like he feels that they, you know, they were toe to toe with them. I think they were. It only really dipped off in that second half of Nuke. And if one of those rounds early goes the other way and they can get them a foot in the door with the economy, maybe it's different.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to win a game where you start everywhere like down 0-4. I think every half or something like that. Like it is really hard to win those games. So I mean that's not to say that that ENCE couldn't have done anything better, but that's just how it happens sometimes.
I think like I hope ENCE aren't at that point where they go, oh shit, like we've plateaued. Like I think they keep looking better. When I watched Anubis, the opening map of that grand final, I was like, holy shit, Vitality are about to get destroyed. Like they weren't missing a shot. Everybody was just like laser beaming. Like Nerds is coming out B main and he's just picking the guy on the platform, bang, dead. The guy was just on the screen, bang, dead. It's like, holy shit.
And Sampos is just hitting everything, man. It's crazy when he's on. But then he had a game where he wasn't so much, you know, for once, like the one time.
Well, he's good against, for whatever reason, I was sitting next to the manager and Lars of Vitality. I was looking for a seat to find. And I wanted to sit in the front in this row, and one of the ushers came up and like, no, you can't sit here. And then there's these murmurs that apparently Neymar was coming to watch, and they kept these chairs open the whole time. And then I don't think Neymar ever came. But anyway, I was sitting next to the manager and Lars, and you know, we're chatting, and I'm like, man, like Senpais is like, does he dislike you guys or something? Like, what is semifinal of Cologne, and now here he's just like deciding to go, you know, huge. I guess Senpais has a good time against Vitality. He must like the way they approach the game because he always seems to have pretty good performances against them.
But he also like I don't think this is the case everywhere, but he just seems like his form is insane at the moment. Like he really, when you were looking at him during the final, like there were shots that he's not supposed to be hitting, and he hit them consistently, like everything. Like he just didn't miss.
He's a
so I'm not even sure if it's about playstyle. I think it's just his form is really high at the moment.
Okay. Well, that's a nice way to look at it. I had a chat with Rops over there, and he was saying like he doesn't feel that the FaZe guys are like in the best form right now, and he thinks that's like defined by like the pistols, right? Because he's breaking it down to that type of round is really all about the headshots. There's obviously less variation for like util and you know, it's about the headshots with the Glock or the USP essentially. Are you gonna bop that shot? Like, and that's a fair way to look at it from a player perspective, I guess. Like The pistol rounds are usually highlight filled. Somebody with a USP just destroying 3 guys, just one tap, one tap, one tap. We've seen it. We see it every game. So it is interesting. Like, and I think it factors in with what dupreeh brought up when he was here as well. Like, we're in this weird spot at the moment with CS2 coming out where everybody's kind of trying to balance their expectations and priorities, and we don't actually know, what the right level of effort or of the. We're in a weird spot at the moment, not in like a bad way, just in a learning about what the future has to hold way. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed watching some of these matches. There was some good entertainment value to the games.
Yeah. I mean, there was something I wanted to say about Exile, and I just after the game that he played, even before they got eliminated, I mean, his return since the break has been pretty bad. I mean, so his game since he returned, right, was against Vitality in the Cologne quarterfinals.
Yep.
And that was 1.03, 0.97 maps. Then against Zonic and ENCE, 1.08 first map, then 0.59, 0.72, 0.83. His return since the end of the break has been terrible for his standards, like really bad. Like he just hasn't had a good map yet. Obviously, it's 6 maps, it's like low sample size, but it seems like despite the fact that he's basically not changed any positions, everything's pretty much the same, before, just because Electronic and Perfecto are these massively fitting 2 replacements, for the 2 players that went out. Despite all of this, for some reason, he's just not feeling comfortable in the game, and I'm not sure what to put it down to, because I would have understood, if roles change, positions change, or anything like that, but that's not the case.
Yeah. Well, like, what you got anything on this, Prof?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how highly rated Cloud9 were. I don't think they will be after this tournament.
I'm still hyped. Don't do this to us, Prof. Let us be excited.
I love this team as well. Like, I rate them highly. I think they're going to be sick, but there is some time that we need, and there needs to be like some proof that this team is going to be good.
Can't we just live in a world, Prof, where they just are good automatically? Can't we live there, please?
The problem is we've already seen. I'm leaning over to the other side now because I've seen them play, and I'm just leaning towards that. Like, we've already seen that they're maybe not as good as we expected them to be. Because I mean, so far somebody said like they have a better record with
Cloud9 getting 16-3, 16-6 by ENCE. Imagine the reaction that would get versus what this got. Like,
That's true.
Crazy.
A fair comparison. Yeah.
It's crazy. People are just like, oh, well, it's fine. Like, I don't think it's fine. I don't think it's fine to get owned like that and be like completely out of the game. Of course, yes, ENCE had some players being like on a fucking burner. Like Decal was great, Nerds was great. I don't think Sampaz was crazy in that series at all. It was more the riflers.
Just normal, yeah.
But still, this is the team that we're hyping up for all of this firepower, and that's also part of the problem. Like, of course, if Exile is not playing well, then that sucks. Like, he is their second biggest star. Yeah, with Shiro. Shiro's good from what I remember. But then, like, Electronic is not the Electronic that was 2 years ago. Like, the IGL Electronic is not the same. He is sick. He can be sick. We saw it in Cologne. Like, from an entry perspective, as like a hard entry IGL, I think he can be like one of the best, if not the best, in that role. But he's not going to bring you the amount of frags that we used to having from him. And then between like Perfecto and Hobbit, like, yeah, they're good players, but again, you don't really put them in the same equation as like Twists and Robs and fucking,
I mean, Perfecto actually impressed me during this tournament.
Hunter and Nico and these guys.
Yeah, Perfecto's actually been impressing me with this team just because he's been stable as always. It doesn't seem like this has affected him whatsoever. I mean, even in that ENCE series, he felt like the only one who was doing anything on Anubis, and just I don't know. I've been watching him play, and seems like he just doesn't disappoint at the moment. So at least there's some good signs, but obviously there's just like, you're not going to perform if you don't have Exile performing to a good level.
For sure no.
Well, probably we're going to see a bit more of them, right? We're going to get to see more games, and hopefully they can start to put some things together. That would be nice.
It's going to be exciting.
Vitality. Should we dive into them? Obviously, the victors of the event. Good to see them getting a win so early after adding Flamesy. I think Flamesy only really looked out of depth on Anubis. Everywhere else, I think he Like I like how active he is on Mirage with Spinks across the map, whether it's being aggressive B-apps and taking control, or it's making sure he can float out short and being able to go for boosts and re-aggress mid. Like I think that those two playing together a lot is pretty good for the team because they're quite contrasting individuals. However, I will say if it wasn't for Magisk in that tournament, I don't think they would have gone as far as they did. I think Magisk was the catalyst to them being able to get into certain games. I think his impact in certain maps early or when they weren't winning was integral. And I think that his experience and being able to just go, no, fuck this, and just make a play or get a big multi-kill kind of meant a lot for the team. They need someone else. And I think it will be Flamesy eventually when he feels more comfortable, but to be that, big, bald, bravadoed guy to make the plays when things, because when I was watching the first map of the final and Matt, obviously Zonic's not there, and Matt's taken that first or second timeout, and he's kind of like he's gestating a lot with his hands, gesticulating. I don't know.
That's the right one.
Whatever the fucking word is. He's doing a lot of things with his hands, and like I'm looking at it and I'm thinking in the game, like they're not doing a lot. Like they're not moving around a lot. They're not making a lot of plays. They're not setting themselves up for a lot of picks. And you kind of want your players to be the ones who are adding that spice of life to a round. Apex can call the opener. He can say, all right, guys, we're going to play 2-3. We're going to go for a pick here. But after that, it's up to the players to be like, I need a flash. Let's block this. Let's do this. And I think that Flames is going to have to be one of the people bringing that addition when he becomes more comfortable. I think that'll start coming out of him more. But yeah, I think Magisk was probably one of my biggest. Him performing like that just reminded everybody, like, oh shit, you don't fucking sleep on this guy either. Like they've got a lot of firepower in that team.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of scary that Vitality were winning. Obviously ZywOo got the MVP in the end, but that was mainly because of the final. But like leading up to that, ZywOo was just kind of average. Like he didn't even have to be there really for Vitality to win. So that's the scary part, that they obviously G2, that was a close one, but before that they just destroyed NAVI they destroyed. Then even in the G2 series until it got late, ZywOo didn't really appear as well until super late into Mirage, where he finally steps up to get it over the line. That is a scary part about Vitality. I mean, their firepower is really crazy. If you don't even have to have ZywOo until the final, and then he finally turns up in the level that we kind of expect from him, and that's what wins them the tournament. But now we got them to the final, so that is kind of
a luxury.
That is a big luxury, yeah. And Flamesy, even though like obviously in his role he's going to be kind of inconsistent. There's no way he's always going to drop 130 ratings or whatever, but he had a couple of games where he was sick, like the one against NAVI. He was top ranking on both maps. Just he seems to be getting more comfortable, even if there are still moments where maybe he oversteps the line. Maybe the fact that Apex kind of told him just do whatever you want, like we're just going to support that for the moment. You can tell that they haven't had so much playtime yet, but like considering that, he looks comfortable.
Yeah, well, that's one of the facts as well. They're like, oh yeah, we've barely had any time to practice since the addition because of the schedule. So that's something else that I imagine for the team must feel good. It's like, well, we just won this event, and we haven't even been able to get. They're going to go Pro League obviously week 1, and then after that they can get some practice in. So it'll be interesting to see what the team looks like after those couple of weeks where they get to take a rest and focus up. Yeah. We got anything else we want to chat about here with Gamers Day, gentlemen?
I would say probably not. I mean, the only thing I would say is that about Flamesy is that it's kind of beginning to be a proof of concept just because of his ability to take over games, which dupreeh just wasn't able to do. It's not like dupreeh was a bad player. Like his stats were even pretty solid for the most part, but just like he didn't have the games where he was the difference maker, even though like Flamesy just has that peak sometimes, so it's kind of it's maybe too early to tell like whether they would have been able to win without this change, or if they would keep winning. But it seems like at least it wasn't a bad call.
Yeah, well that's the thing, right? I think most of us could look at it from a standpoint and be like, yeah, we can understand why. Like even dupreeh was like, yeah, like he could look at some of the factors as to what went into it. But people in chat, the last thing they're bringing up is NAVI, but I don't know what people want us to say about NAVI. Like
they got fucking obliterated.
There's like 16-2 loss on Mirage, their map choice or something, right? Like
it doesn't look great.
My biggest concern is like how do they get the best out of Imma? Like what was the Goldilocks mix over there on Gamer Legion to allow him to flourish and have that level of performance? Like was it the environment? Did they play and around? Did he get you know, a lot of help with these positions. Like he's meant to be the star rifler in this team, right? So I'm not putting it on him. This is his first gambit into a proper tier 1 team. There is going to be an acclimatization period, but we all knew, and like even JL, you know, it's in jest when he first joined the team, but there's a lot of pressure when you join NAVI, and Simple's there. Like he's going to hold you to the highest of standards. You know, the guy said like he gets frustrated in these games because he wants his teammates to be better so they can win together. You know, like so I don't think it's any secret that Simple's going to get frustrated with losing. And like that for me is not a new thing. We've been here before. We were here a couple months ago. I don't know why we're here again having the same conversation. Are we going to talk about it during the game when it's happening? Yes. But did we expect it?
Yes.
Or at certain points, yes. So what do people want us to say? Like, I don't think there's a lot to say.
And I just sad because we're used to seeing them being great, and we're used to Simple being like, you know, insane. And now he's not insane. He's just like a very good player right now.
He's a top 10 player, which is like disappointing for Simple, you know?
So the combination of that and like them essentially not having the impact from their second star that they want, like Bit has stepped up a bit, but you know, it's just not it right now.
Bit, so I will say this, and this is not to detract from Bit. If we're talking about the Navi Furia game, his stats got inflated because, and I don't even know if it's inflated. Like this is the thing with Counter-Strike, but they just went to his bomb site over and over again at the start of Ancient. They just went A. Oh, he did. But that's my point. That kind of is my point. Like one of the things in Counter-Strike is you can't control where the opponent's going to go. And in certain times, your bomb site is going to get more action than others. In other times, you're going to have to rotate into sites more than others, probably number disadvantage, probably with bad information.
Yeah.
You know? And those type of games are going to dictate. That's why like anchor positions, especially like that bomb site, when your chances come, you better fucking make sure it counts. And when it came Bit's way, he made sure it counted. So anyway, should we get out of here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're going to do another show, right?
We should.
Saturday?
I mean, just before Pro League, I guess we want to do.
Yeah, Saturday would probably be ideal.
Yeah. Let's talk. Let's figure it out. Yeah, I asked you guys in chat, but no one replied. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I guess
I did read it. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it. I was having to think about it. But I like that idea. I'm happy with that. We'll get some insights that we didn't know we needed.
We could do that, or I guess like Monday, Tuesday, you're busy with like media and stuff.
Yeah, it basically kicks off for me on Monday.
So then let's.
What's up with this? What's up with this summer camp?
It's just a theme, right? I give people a bit of thought into what's going to happen. If people tuned in last season and they know it was a little bit looser and we were doing skits and some of the segments, if it's maybe not a super exciting game, we're going to be talking about other bits and bobs. The camp is merely just a theme, like a vehicle to help us, you know, do certain types of content to help to keep things themed in a way. I don't think it'll be
There's going to be a bonfire talk.
I don't imagine it will be the only thread. Today, actually, there was a bunch of us in TeamSpeak and we were coming up with content ideas and discussing that type of stuff. It's actually been, Pro League is actually a project for the people involved from the talent side where we've been having meetings and talking about this ever since the last season because people really see this product as, we have the same feeling as the people at home. It's not the most cutthroat thing, right? We know it goes for a lengthier period of time. We don't control the format. We have nothing to do with that. We're just going to try and make the best of the broadcast while we're on there and deliver content that's hopefully entertaining, unique, and gives people something to watch while discovering new teams, new players, and seeing what people have to offer. And hopefully we can bring some smiles to people's faces and keep people entertained because you know that's what we're aiming for. So similar scenes as last season for people to keep in mind. Maybe a few less EG jokes, but you know, same kind of stuff.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, well, yeah, true. Maybe they won't be. Well, they don't. Yeah, the partnerships are fucking over soon. Who cares? What are we worried about?
Who cares if they?
What are we worried about now?
I tell you, they don't like a joke, man.
Well, I still can't believe like no one said anything about the whole like, if you finish last in 3 out of 4 seasons, we will consider removing you from the team, from the partnership.
Yeah.
What a great thing.
A great mechanism you could pick and choose. You know what would be nice if CS2 came out during Pro League? So like it'd be the best event for CS2, wouldn't it? 5 weeks, you get a lengthier time to go through everything. You can like study everything. You can use that as content on the broadcast. It would have been perfect. Volvo, thanks anyway. Anyway, let's get out of here. It's been another episode of HLTV Confirmed. He's been Prof. The other guy's been Striker. Lucas has been here. Thanks for dupreeh. He came along. We chatted to him, legend of the game. Thank you to all of you at home who tuned in and sat along and listened to a bunch of individuals talk about Counter-Strike, a video game that has been going forever and ever and will probably be going forever and ever and ever. So shout out to 22Bet, SteelSeries, and TradeIt.gg. If you want to support the show, maybe check out what some of our sponsors have to offer. And we'll be back next time, hopefully on the weekend, with a Pro League preview. Good night.
Best esports odds, VIP program and a variety of bonuses, fast and easy withdrawals. Bet on every possible CSGO match and tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
Are you tired of your boring old skins and looking for beautiful new ones? TradeIt.gg is your place to go for easy and secure trades within seconds. Simply pick and choose whatever item you want to trade from TradeIt's huge inventory. Verify the trade on Steam and you're ready. With the lowest fees in the market and a beautiful, easy-to-use UI, TradeIt also offers you the option to instantly sell your items for cash. We accept a wide variety of payment methods. TradeIt.gg is the go-to place whenever you want to try out fancy new skins. Start trading today at TradeIt.gg.
It's a good vibe, trend, 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 trend. It's a good vibe, trend, 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 trend. It's a good vibe, trend, 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 trend. Good vibe, trend.